hope. I hope that this stream will go good. God, is this like... Is this the Sea Heist theme that I was singing? Ew. Fine. Oh, lots more videos about Fallout. Mr. Handy. Mr. Handies are one of my favorite robots.
You realize how fast 10 cents adds up.
Can you believe the...
And up. And up. Become a Walmart Plus member and save 10 cents a gallon at Exxon and Mobil stations.
In 2037, General Atomics International developed and introduced to the robotics market a new machine capable of completing basic maintenance and construction tasks. The aptly named Mr. Handy flooded both American and Mexican markets. Mr. Handy was known as a reliable robot. It had a nuclear power unit designed by Cal Power, another robotics company, that guaranteed a runtime of 2 years. It had self-maintenance modes that ensured it would take care of itself so you didn't have to, and perhaps the biggest selling point was the fact that 2 or more Mr. Handy robots could keep themselves in working order indefinitely given the right conditions by replacing one another's nuclear fuel without the need of human assistance. It saved people money, it saved people time, and they could not get enough of the Mr. Handy robot. Its appearance was bulky. The metallic barrel-like body houses the aforementioned nuclear unit, but it also came with several accessories, such as rechargeable power cells, an integral mechanic toolset, and a small computer brain. The one eye atop the machine houses a basic sensor. Beside that is the communicator, which allows the machine to receive voice commands and respond in what many would call a disturbing voice.
How may I serve you, master?
The entire head rotates 360 low-light conditions. On either side of the body, 2 pods house the necessary ducted fans that allow the robot to hover in place. Finally, 6 arms containing motors and manipulators
6
are mounted
arms?
beneath the body. Each arm is capable of acting independently and are able to complete an array of tasks, from lifting heavy loads to cutting hair to walking the dog, and it could do it all gracefully while ensuring the safety of nearby people and property, which is essential when the robot weighs 900 pounds. You can
Seriously?
imagine the amount of damage it could do if applied in the wrong way. And it was
Mr.
this
Gutsies?
hardiness and resilience that led to corporations and military services using Mr. Handy robots throughout a number of settings. The only design flaw was the limited brain power that prevented it from learning from mistakes. But other than that, it was a fine addition to any workforce, and it was built to last. Several of the machines
2
are
years?
still operational after 200 years of service, a demonstration to General Atomics design, and their practicality has not gone unnoticed. The Enclave in California are known to use Mr. Handy robots alongside their Vertibird teams, likely helping lift heavy equipment and running basic maintenance checks. But they also serve as secondary soldiers that, thanks to their nimble and dexterous arms, can wield heavy weapons during a firefight. One of these robots actually survived a crash landing outside of Klamath during a desert transaction. While remaining mostly intact, the robot's electronic brain is damaged, and communication with the machine is less than favorable. But overall, the automaton has stood the test of time. However, as a general rule with anything that is created, a glitzier and more refined version follows, and Mr. Handy is no exception to this rule. Approximately 40 years after the creation of the original Mr. Handy, General Atomics was looking to improve their robot. They wanted to take full advantage of new technologies and replace several parts of the old design. In order to maintain their market share, General Atomics entered into a joint venture with Robco Industries, a
And made that giant-ass
multi-billion-dollar
base
robotics
underground that I like to
software
call home.
corporation. And together they created a brand spanking new robot that now had initiative.
How may I serve you, master? Not that I really want to.
It was no longer necessary to bombard the robot with voice commands. It knew what it was there to do, and it simply did it. Whether it was gardening, cooking, or accounting, and it could do it with half the arms the older model had, reducing weight, maintenance, cost, and due to many of these benefits, it made for the perfect domestic servant robot. No more was the body a large barrel. Instead, a sphere houses the nuclear unit. Beneath that, a single jet-propelled thruster replaced
Wouldn't this,
the
like, catch your
composite
carpet
once
on
had,
fire?
making it easier for the machine to move around a home, although they can't stress enough that this shouldn't be used to barbecue food. One eye became 3 eyes mounted on modular stems with aperture lenses, which does make Handy feel more alive. And 6 arms became 3. The integral mechanic tool set was swapped out for a titanium saw, laser cutter, and pincer. Everything it needed to complete most maintenance jobs you would find around your average home. And these could quite easily be repurposed to defend the house at a moment's notice.
I have a buzzsaw with your name on it!
However, the strength the arms once had been reduced, with loads being limited to 18 kilograms or 40 pounds, which is still impressive, but not as impressive as the new sensor package. This revolutionary technology allowed the robot to sense radiation and chemicals, and it could even smell its surroundings, which was particularly useful when overseeing the general well-being of infants. This new Handy also had the ability to condense water, storing it inside containers to be decanted upon request, which would be very beneficial to all those hard-working families who now sat around watching their robot do all the work. But the most striking transformation wasn't the appearance or the ability to smell, it was the brain. Once a computer incapable of learning, now a highly sophisticated neural network that mimicked the functionality of a human brain. And due to this, the machine could theoretically achieve artificial intelligence. So to avoid that from occurring, special limiters were put in place along neural pathways to prevent it from learning too much and making connections that could allow it to step out of its programming and be, for lack of a better word, free. In the event it did, behavior limiters would keep the robot working but also prevent it from harming humans, at least intentionally harming, as they too possess the ability to malfunction. But don't let that potential life-threatening issue get you down, for it can be delivered straight to your door in a surprisingly small box, readily assembled for the family to unpack and enjoy.
I should go for a run today, but it looks like it could rain.
Save
Your
on
mom?
the rain jackets at Sierra.
Despite the new model being marketed as a domestic servant, due to its sophisticated neural network and nimble, light design, it was soon repurposed for a variety of
Combat.
private and public entities. One such entity, the United States Army, saw Mr. Handy transformed into Mr. Gutsy, a dedicated combat variant that actually served during the liberation of Anchorage. Being made for war meant its shell was heavier than Mr. Handy's. It was now made of armor plating painted combat green, although I imagine those deployed at Anchorage were winter white. The laser cutter was swapped out for a plasma caster, and the circular saw was replaced with a flamethrower, although this isn't always the case. In addition to these changes, Gutsy was also installed with dedicated military software, which gave it the ability to refuse orders, had the commander been deemed incompetent or placed under court-martial. The quaint British accent that Handy has was also replaced for something more fitting for a battlefield, with the Sergeant Major simulated personality, which provided morale for troops, while spreading propaganda to the enemy.
There's nothing I like better than making some other poor bastard die for his country.
However,
I love Mr. Gutsies.
led to General Atomics.
I'm gonna shove my boot so far up your ass that you'll cough up boot polish. Dude, the Mr. Gutsy quotes are honestly gold.
There's nothing I like better than making some other poor bastard die for his country.
However, time constraints due to the war effort led to General Atomics cutting corners, and the Gutsy personality was anything but perfect, as vague definitions had been used in the programming of its neural network, which led to several issues. One of which meant that if Gutsy was left without an order, then it would enter patrol mode, which in and of itself doesn't sound so bad. But if it came across any unauthorized personnel during one of these impromptu patrols, then it would attack with extreme violence. Yet, even with this flaw, the military accepted Gutsy and put him to work under various ranks depending on their intended use, which doesn't necessarily have to be for combat. They can also be repurposed into specialized combat medics. A good example of this is Sawbones at the Citadel, although he has undergone an unintended transformation after a generator overloaded and shorted the limiters placed along his neural pathways, allowing Sawbones to step out of his programming and continue to learn. But the behavior limiters prevent him from directly harming humans and force him to continue working. He is self-aware, but no one listens to him. In his words, he is perfectly cognizant, but incapable of independent action, which has driven him mad. The only pleasure he experiences is poetry, and the minimal amount of pain he inflicts while repairing humans. And if asked, he would much rather stay this way. Complete freedom is out of the question, but to be repaired would remove what little joy his life has, and for him, that small pleasure is enough, for now. As for medical entities, the Mr. Handy has been altered into one of two roles, either a Mr. Orderly or a Miss Nanny. Now, a Mr. Orderly is for all intents and purposes still a Mr. Handy. They have simply been repainted with white, blue and red paint, which protects them against the corrosive materials they handle. No longer do they brandish tools or weapons, instead just 3 pincers, and that's about it. Miss Nanny, on the other hand, is considered to be the female equivalent of Mr. Handy. They have female voices, adopting a more motherly tone, sometimes French, sometimes English, and this is by design, as Miss Nanny robots were used to care for and raise newborns, a daunting and draining experience for most people. However, Miss Nanny is well suited for the job, having specialized programming that allows her to identify dangers within a room and then childproof that room.
Which you can do in Fallout 4 to get like 3 to 5 fusion cores.
Or do whatever else was needed to make them happy. She can also educate children of all ages, and if needed, disciplinary was also an option for those particularly troublesome
Here, Timmy.
teenagers
Bam!
initiating
Blast him with a laser.
with parental approval, of course. And the variants don't stop there. Mr. Handy has been put to work growing crops as Mr. Farmhand and dressed up for
And heavily modified by me to make the Agrabot.
which is a name I really don't appreciate. And that brings us to the
Anuka, what?
been put to work growing crops as Mr. Farmhand and dressed up for corporate branding as Mr. Frothy, which is a name I really don't appreciate. And that brings us to the final variant, Mr. Torturer. This gruesome automaton was an experimental model created by the Appalachian branch of Robco for the US Army. But instead of circular saws and laser cutters, they were equipped with whatever they needed to overcome the subject's pain threshold during what was known as improved interrogation, which is essentially torture, meaning their behavior limiters have been removed, enabling them to intentionally harm humans, although we have yet to see one for ourselves. As you can see, Mr. Handy is an incredibly versatile automaton, applied to numerous fields for their robustness, meticulousness, and nimbleness. If not for the Great War, a new version would have no doubt left the factory floor, and at one point in time, there were rumors that the 3rd generation Mr. Handy was going to receive a 4th arm. So who knows what the next model would have looked like, and the things it would have done, but you can bet your last cap that it would have done them well.
There wasn't enough coffee in the world for me to get all the things I needed to do done. Asana is the game changer for project management. If you want to stop chasing cats all the time and pinging people on statuses, Asana.
Okay, I know it sounds kind of stupid to say this. What if in real life China had synths? Can you imagine how, or Russia, or God forbid, even America had synths? Could you imagine if America or any country in the world had synths? They could spy on you with unparalleled accuracy. They could. And the thing about synths is the only way to uncover their identity is to kill them. And if you kill the wrong person, you'll be brandished a murderer. And that's the horrifying thing about synths. Can you imagine if you were in modern society, if we got spied on by synths? Synths are truly scary. Not because they don't brandish any scary weapons. Well, they do brandish one scary weapon, and that's camouflage. Yeah.
Who are you?
existence of the synth is arguably one of the most important components to the story of Fallout 4. Indeed, the entire reason the sole survivor ever even escaped the vault and left their undetermined mark on the Commonwealth was due to the synths. The Institute, unsatisfied with their clunky Generation 2 models, went in search of pure, untainted human DNA from pre-war residents. To this end, they infiltrated Vault 111 to capture Sean, who provided the blueprint for the Gen 3 synths that we see throughout the game. Synths therefore frame the goals of 3 out of the 4 factions that can be sided with in-game. Each are motivated by their own different goals, but the underlying key denominator is based on their own individual views on the synth. The Railroad views synths as free-thinking sentient beings who need to be saved from enslavement. To their eyes, there's absolutely no difference between a synth and a human being. The Institute believes that a synth is merely a tool to be used and discarded of when it's outlived its usefulness. In their mind, a synth is no different to a computer terminal or a blender. The only difference is that they view them as a much more valuable property. The Brotherhood of Steel believe that the threat that a synth poses is as dangerous, if not more so, than the atomic weapons that had destroyed the world that they inhabit. A free-thinking machine that believes it's alive is, in their eyes, an abomination. Synths inspire incredibly emotional responses from these factions. Our choice as the player ourselves on which faction to side with is undeniably inspired on our own personal view on a synth. But ultimately, the question we are focusing on today is, what is a synth? What is their history, and how did they come into existence? A synth is an incredibly sophisticated synthetic robot created by the Institute of the Commonwealth. Synths come in a variety of different forms, noted by their generations that the Institute categorizes them with. The exact date that the first one had been created is not officially listed in any of the records of the Institute. The first generation model of the synth is claimed to have been created simply decades in the past, with no fixed specific date attached to this. Gen 1s are easily distinguishable from other synths, as they have a humanoid shape but are essentially simple machines. The Gen 1s themselves are made up of a chassis shaped to replicate a human skeleton, constructed out of metallic alloys. Interestingly, Gen 1s were built not only in the form of the human skeleton, but also possessing their own unique robotic accoutrements akin to a human being. These come in visual sensors that are held behind 2 eyes, power cells built in the form of a human heart, and a processing center that is clearly in the image of the human brain. The Institute spends much of its time proclaiming synths to be clearly not human, yet even from the beginning they were made in our image. This is going off topic, but it does interest me purely for the fact that Gen 1s were originally created to perform simple labor within the Institute. The scientists and personnel felt such work was beneath them and set out to create robotic helpers to assist with maintenance, cleaning, and construction of the Institute itself. However, if you are going to create a robotic companion purely for labor, why make it in our image with all the limitations we possess? Why not make one with, 4 arms so it can clean 4 different windows at the same time? Obviously, it is in our nature to relate to something that resembles our own form. But it is curious that the Institute, with all their boundless detachment from normal humanity, sought to create their first synth in our likeness. Generation 1 synths are described as having the same level of complexity and artificial intelligence as a Protectron. Although being fairly basic models, they were capable of responding to human commands given to them. They themselves were even capable of speech and could converse at an incredibly basic level in both English and Japanese.
検知から逃れ続けるのは不可能です。最新のインスティチュートセンサーを装備しています。
However, dialogue and terminal entries found within the Institute indicate that even basic tasks needed to be carefully instructed to them. The models themselves were susceptible to harm, whether from attack or workplace accidents, and required to have their navigational software continually patched in order to try stop them walking through walls. Ultimately, the Generation 1 models would gradually hit the ceiling with their capabilities.
Learn why we're such big fans of fans at AmarinIllinoisSavings.com.
Goodbye budget stress, hello fall style. Get to Kohl's and take 15% off already great deals on women's styles from Sonoma Goods for Life. Men's clothing from Apartment.
The first generations began to be replaced by their next iteration, Generation 2 synths.
Let's start to see the skin platings you usually see on like Nick Valentine.
Appearance,
artificial skin that meshes over their internal hardware. Second gens still don't look exactly human, with their closest comparison being that of a walking mannequin. Gen 2s were created to address and fill in the gaps that the Generation 1 models had been unable to fill. As the Institute dug further and further into the ground and became more focused on their idealistic technological utopia, their visits to the surface became less and less. The creation of the teleporter array and the removal of any physical entry to the Institute led to their surface missions being carried out only by synths and sometimes field agents such as Kellogg. However, the limitations of the Gen 1s became evident when placed in a combat role. While capable instruments, Gen 1s were physically frail and no match for the creatures and denizens of the wasteland. Their main combat advantage came from their typically overwhelming numbers, yet this was seen as an unsustainable solution, given the requirements and resources needed to create such a large number of synths. Gen 2s were therefore created to meet this demand and carry out Institute missions, while having the combat capability and defenses to address any threats to their person.
Is that a synth with a minigun?
Gen 2s also possessed a far more advanced AI compared to Gen 1s. In combat, they display a level of sapience while actively hunting their prey, calling out to them in a creepy low monotone voice or savouring their target's fear.
Whoever or whatever you are, I knew you were out there. You must be terrified.
Gen 2s are the most commonly seen synth that are seen on the surface. Commonwealth residents came to fear these specific instruments of the Institute, as they became known for massacring towns and communities of the Waste, often without warning or seemingly reason. Gen 2s would be typically sent by the Institute to strip settlements of resources and parts. However, they would also be sent to retrieve particular components of interest to the Institute, such as the case of University Point. One of the town's residents created a hard drive that contained information on the pre-war university's research into reactor efficiency, something that the Institute desperately craved. The Institute's representative, Kellogg, was sent to demand the hard drive, causing the town's residents to turn on Jacqueline. Given the delay, however, the Institute sent their Gen 2 synths to annihilate the residents of the town. University Point is therefore mentioned as one of the most devastating attacks by the Institute in relatively recent memory, with Gen 2 synths seen still patrolling its streets. Despite their benefits, like the original Gen 1s, Generation 2 synths became constrained by their own limitations. They were easily recognizable in the field and therefore eroded the Institute's ability to operate without surveillance. There were still also limitations to Gen 2's AI, given that it was made of a purely mechanical nature. Terminal entries indicate reports of major software bugs causing Gen 2s to remain in a single room, repeatedly completing a task in a never-ending loop. The motors, actuators, and manipulators of the Gen 2 synth's mechanical body parts are also stated to start breaking down due to age. Institute scientists can be heard commenting on Gen 2s living well past their lifespan, with the eventual plan being to phase them out completely with the next iteration, the Generation 3s. Generation 2 synths do notably have some prototypes developed in the time between them and Generation 3s. For example, Generation 2 synths can be seen to almost have ranks, such as synth leaders or synth stormers. The synth Erratica variant is described as being on par with the power-armoured Brotherhood of Steel 9. On top of this,
Synth what?
Synth leaders or synth stormers. The synth Erratica variant is described as being on par with the power-armoured Brotherhood of Steel 9. On top of this,
I'm sorry, one more time.
Such as synth leaders or synth stormers. The synth Erratica variant is described as being on par with the power-armoured Brotherhood of Steel 9. On top of this, 3 unique Gen 2s can also be found defending the Institute's reactor. Each possesses their own unique armour and weaponry that sets them apart from the rank-and-file synths. While it's also not canon to the story, these specific synths are always seen to be categorised as legendary and are exceptionally tough foes. However, going beyond Gen 2s with simply heavy armour and more advanced weaponry and training, 2 other prototype synths were created that were truly unique. Nick and Dima are Repairer synth brothers, and the only ones of their kind that were created. The Institute had sought to conduct experiments on Generation 2 models to see if they could handle independent thinking. For Nick, he was loaded with various memories and personalities of human beings, whose brain scans were on record at the CIT labs. He was then left to see how his personality formed from the myriad of injected thoughts into his mind. After processing these, his mind would be completely wiped of the uploaded personalities, with the whole process then beginning anew. This would continue for many years, until Dima took action. See, for Dima, the Institute instead provided him with his own clean slate of a brain, and allowed him to develop his personality through his own experiences and thoughts. This led Dima to possess his own individual mind, and festered his hatred towards the Institute for their actions they took on him and his brother. Dima escaped the Institute, taking his brother with him, but not before the latest personality had been uploaded into him, being that of a pre-war detective named Nick Valentine. Since Dima's brother had the original Nick's memories, he was initially under the impression he was the original Nick Valentine from 200 years in the past. Dima had then been forced to knock him out and abandon him after Nick assaulted Dima in his confusion. Nick and Dima represent unique breakthroughs in synths, as through their experiments they developed their own sense of self. Dima had sat within a cave for a full year staring at a wall since he had no programmed objective, before he eventually reached the conclusion that he could just seek out his own destiny. It is notable, however, that Dima and Nick have limit to their memory storage capabilities, as they were never designed to live for as long as they have. Dima literally needs to store his own thoughts and memories into a computer database in order to not overload his brain. Nick also has the same problem, with his memories being overwritten to make space for new ones. For the time being, however, Nick has not needed to offload any memories, which may indicate his storage is larger than Dima's. However, it does leave us with the sad conclusion that Nick eventually will forget the life he's built and the friends he has made, once his computational matrix begins to delete the excess memories. The culmination of the Institute's experiments led to the development of the Generation 3 models. 5
Truly
decades of
scary
research
models.
led to the creation of a robot that was indistinguishable from a regular human being in nearly every way. In an effort to create humanoid synths made of flesh and bone, the Institute had originally experimented only with FEV to produce synthetic organs and appendages. However, the program never fully got off the ground, as the radiation damage inherently induced was unable to sustain viable organic structures to the level required. The Institute therefore looked to the next best thing: human beings. Initial experiments with human DNA were fraught with failure, given the fact that humanity had also been tainted by nearly 200 years of exposure to radiation. The breakthrough came, however, when they uncovered a record of a pre-war vault, sealed to the world with its residents cryogenically frozen in time. The Institute led a team to the vault to capture Sean, a baby from pre-war times, prized for his undamaged genetic code. Sean's DNA was combined with the Institute's previous research with FEV, allowing the accelerated growth of organic human-like robots that came to become the Generation 3 synth. While exploring the Institute's robotic lab, the sole survivor can come across the process for Generation 3 synth creation. The synths are put together by machinery piece by piece in an assembly line process. Bones are picked out and set together to form the skeleton of a human being. The skeleton is then moved along the line, where all the necessities are transplanted onto its frame, such as eyes, muscle tissue, brain, heart, and lungs. Further appendages are also implanted, such as a digestive tract, neurological implants, and even reproductive organs. In the next stage, the synth's organs are kick-started with electrical impulses, before finally being dipped within a liquid fluid bath. While we can't view the synth while submerged, the fluid of the bath coats the synth, while a layer of artificial skin is transplanted over their frame. The synth then emerges, essentially, as a fully grown human adult, before being ushered along for processing. Although the process is basically just an assembly line, and the bones, muscles, organs, and skin of the synth were artificially grown within a lab, biologically, the synth is an organic creature. Although the people of the Commonwealth had feared the Institutes and their robotic synths previously, the arrival of Generation 3s ushered in a wave of paranoia that came to categorize the region. In an event immortalized in history as the Broken Mask Incident, a Gen 3 entered Diamond City under the name of Mr. Carter. Although seemingly normal at first, Mr. Carter began to malfunction and eventually opened fire on the unwitting residents. The man was shot down by Diamond City security, who then noticed his synthetic neurological implants after inspecting his body. The Diamond City residents were then left with the unsettling proposition: anyone, be it their best friend, brother, partner, or a random guy off the street, could be an Institute agent, waiting for the switch to flick. Although the Broken Mask incident was purely accidental, since the director of the time never approved Mr. Carter's field test, as he was evidently defective, the fear expressed by the survivors is completely understandable. This is especially so in more recent times, as the Institute has actively pursued the goal of kidnapping Commonwealth residents and replacing them with a synth clone, completely indistinguishable from the original. This has been done for a variety of reasons. One, to place their agents in a position of power, such as Mayor McDonough, or as part of an experiment, seen with Roger Warwick. However, some Generation 3 synths are created purely because the Institute can. This is evident in the case of the child Sean synth, who had been created by Father purely on a whim to see what a child synth would be like. He was also created in Father's image to see how the sole survivor may react to having their child as they remember them. Members in the Bioscience division have even gone to the extent of creating synth gorillas as a pet project, if you pardon the pun.
Who's ready to show who's the cheesiest?
I woke up feeling the cheesiest coach. Official sponsor of the college football playoff.
How much are GoPros?
For all their biological likeness to humanity, Generation 3 synths do still possess qualities akin to their previous models. They do have a metallic component, being that of the neurological implant inserted into their brain, that allows the Institute to program the synths and activate them via voice commands. Gen 3s do not need to ingest food or water in order to sustain energy for their body to operate. They're physically incapable of getting sick, although they can still suffer genetic damage from radiation. They do not even need to sleep. They also will never biologically age. This is a topic discussed by an Institute scientist to her colleagues regarding the child Sean clone, given a disgust at the fact they'd created a child that never will be able to grow up. Interestingly, synths such as Curie do express their need to eat and sleep. A synth named Eve is even confirmed to possess the ability to dream by her foster family. A terminal entry also indicates that Gen 3 synths are obsessed with fancy lad snack cakes and are able to appreciate taste as well as possessing a sense of smell.
Snack cakes?
Fortunately, as the scientist observes, synths are created with a digestive tract, allowing them to process the food, as well as the fact that they're unable to gain weight. As mentioned before, synths are also created to possess reproductive organs, although they are unable to have any children. At least 3 synth characters can be romanced in-game, with dialogue indicating their desire to have
I keep
sex with
thinking
a
that when
main
he's showing
character.
Curie, I almost think that that's
Footnotes indicates that although synths do not
Magnolia.
need to eat, drink, or sleep, the fact that they have these taste buds and senses indicates that they may simply choose to do so because they can. This evidence of choice brings to surface one of the most contentious questions that Generation 3 synths invoke. Do they possess their own free will? To be honest, this is a topic I'm going to leave for another video, given the amount of depth and context needed to delve into the question. However, synths do seem to express their own desire for free will. This free will even leads them to making the decision to escape the Institute. Many escape synths unfortunately do not get very far, however, due to the existence of the final form of synth seen so
Synth
far.
Retention Bureau
Corsair.
or Coursers.
The Corsair is the most ruthless and dangerous type of synth created by the Institute. Corsairs are drafted from Gen 3 synth populations, with Institute agents monitoring them for traits such as fearlessness, tenacity, and independent thinking. When a suitable candidate is located, they undergo a neurological update to transfer necessary skills such as combat, espionage, and stealth training. The would-be Corsair is then run through highly intensive exercises to hone these new abilities, as well as having a crash course in all manner of skills such as psychology, investigation techniques, and even unarmed combat. Successful trainees are implanted with Corsair chips, allowing them to relay in and out of the Institute at will. Unsuccessful trainees have their minds wiped and essentially returned to their original duties. There is, however, in-game contradictions that do state that Corsairs are created from birth, rather than being selected from the Generation 3 population. We could technically explain this away by saying that they do both, or that when they need Corsairs, they try to replicate the synth creation process that led to other Corsairs being born. While technically Gen 3 synths, Corsairs are essentially a level above. They're noted to possess exceptional strength and endurance, far beyond the capability of any regular human being or synth. The first Corsair found within Fallout 4 single-handedly wipes out an entire gunner platoon, simply for being in the way of their quarry, a rogue synth. Which brings us to the Corsair's main purpose. Corsairs are in the employ of the Synth Retention Bureau, tasked with retrieving and resetting rogue synths that escape the Institute. Once they locate a synth, usually after ruthlessly massacring any witnesses to the fact, The Corsair activates their reset code, bringing them back to factory mode and transporting them back to the Institute to be restored to their original duties. However, while they are committed to their tasks, the independence that the Corsairs are prized for can also work in opposition to the Institute. There has been at least 2 recorded instances of Corsairs abandoning the Institute. One, going by the name Chase, had grown disillusioned with her duties of capturing synths who escaped from their own free will. Upon meeting Dima, she swore herself to his cause, rising to become one of the co-founders of Arcadia. Chase is unique in that she is the only known female Corsair seen in the entire series. The other, originally known as Designation A321, is first introduced in Fallout 3 in the quest Replicated Man. The Corsair, now going by the name of Harkness, had abandoned his duties after growing sick of capturing synths who sought their own destiny, similar to Chase. He subsequently had a mind wipe and a face transplant to assume a new life. The Lone Wanderer is able to return him to the head of the SRB, Dr. Zimmer, or convince him to maintain his independence. Interestingly, the quest does make use of the term androids rather than synths, as Dr. Zimmer refers to Harkness and his bodyguard by this term. This terminology is retconned within universe by a terminal entry created by Father. In it, Father states that although the term android has been used interchangeably with synth, particularly by Order residents such as Dr. Zimmer, he declares that all official Institute records utilize the proper designation of synth, simply because they are synthetic beings. And that is ultimately the history of the synth in the Fallout series so far. It's unlikely we'll see much more of them in the following games, since any mention to them in a future edition may canonize a specific ending to the series. Synths draw incredibly varied responses from commentators both within the game and outside of it. For many players, synths are viewed in much the same vein as any other robot. The idea of self-determination is dismissed as a ridiculous notion. For others, synths are viewed as a sentient thinking being that should possess all the rights and privileges available to any other organic, free-willed human being. But what are your thoughts on the matter? I'd love to hear them in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far through, I appreciate you so much for sticking with me. If you have thoughts on the matter, I'd love to hear. Please feel free to subscribe and watch some of my other videos.
What about for factions?
Are you ready for to-do?
Watch now. Watch now.
Now?
Now.
Watch now.
Watch now.
No.
What's up, guys? JD2017.
Oh, wait, this isn't the same guy. Damn it.
The existence of the synth is arguably one.
Aliens of Fallout.
Are we alone in the universe?
Nope.
A question that mankind has pondered ever since we first gazed up into the sky. Some denied the existence of life beyond our planet. Others believed that the sky above held the heavens, while some few claimed that there were beings from other worlds in galaxies far from our own. The question of whether mankind is alone in the universe is a scary question to consider. The more frightening part is knowing the answer. An incident log found in the ruins of the Pentagon in 2277 states the following. Further investigations into the UFO codenamed Paladine have confirmed our suspicions. On the evening of May 3rd, 2062, an alien craft of unknown make and origin did indeed breach the airspace just north of Hagerstown, Maryland, and crashed into the heavily wooded, non-residential area. Unfortunately, attempts to retrieve the craft proved unsuccessful. It simply could not be located, either due to some kind of advance in visibility shielding, or because the occupants managed to make repairs and vacate the crash site before our arrival. Despite our failure of recovery, the significance of this event cannot be denied. We are not alone. When speaking of aliens within the Fallout universe, the primary species that we envision are the Zetans. There are evidently some form of other aliens in existence, given the artifacts and buildings found by Lorenzo Cabot in the Arabian Desert. But the focus for today is on the beings that have had the most interaction with humanity. Although the Zetans had evidently visited Earth for many centuries, their existence was only acknowledged by the pre-war governments of the world in 2062. During the space race of the 60s, the US had launched a capsule piloted by the astronaut Colonel Hartigan, into space. The attempt was one to improve upon the previous voyage of Captain Bell, the first man in space, who unfortunately perished upon re-entry to Earth. Colonel Hartigan's expedition was unfortunately more unsuccessful. Colonel Hartigan's capsule disappeared from all visible radar technology after leaving Earth's atmosphere, made all the more suspicious when the vessel never returned back to Earth. The USA began to truly contemplate the crackpot rumours that extraterrestrial visitors may have interfered with the inhabitants of the world, a theory that was ultimately proven to be true. Now, Zetans themselves are akin to our world's most common conception of an alien, typically known as a Grey. They're a small, green-skinned, huge-headed little monster who would lose a fistfight with a human baby. In contrast to their physical fragility, or perhaps because of it, Zetans are seen to be incredibly intelligent beings. They've developed sophisticated technologies unparalleled to the technological might of pre-war America in robotics, spacecraft, and weaponry to make up for their disadvantages. As an example, cryostasis, force fields, ray guns, teleportations, army robots, and space vessels are just some of the technologies that the Zetans have at their disposal. It appears to be the case that the home planet of the Zetans must have a similar environment and atmosphere to Earth. The Zetans are able to be located on Earth's surface on numerous occasions, breathing and digesting our oxygen without any form of breathing apparatus or support system. Human beings are also able to breathe the oxygen found on the Zetans' mothership, which no doubt would be designed to mimic that of their home planet. The status and location of their planet is an unknown quandary, however. Zetans have been travelling to Earth in incredibly sophisticated spacecraft since at least the 1600s, and it's not known if their planet is even still in existence, or if their entire species regulates itself to their UFOs. The reason being that their entire culture almost seems to be based purely on work, with only few signs of individual expression, independent thought, or personal hobbies. The aliens can be seen conversing with one another while not performing any duties, expressing anger at the humans when they attack the mothership, as well as cowering and begging for their lives. They also seem to have a fascination with the Giddy-Up Buttercup robotic toy, as they seemingly build shrines to it and become excited when Sally sees one in her interrogation session. This indicates there must be at least some semblance of individual self within the aliens. However, their living quarters are utilitarian. Their beds are simply stasis chamber capsules in which they sleep and seem to have no personal items or forms of entertainment visible in these areas. Their food appears to be equally bland, consisting merely of worms and squids found from their home planet. The aliens clearly have a role to play in the operation of the ship, with workers, scientists, soldiers, and evidently captains, each fulfilling their duties, but it's unknown if they have any other reason for living, or if the entire society is akin to an insect hive. The other theory is that the mothership that we see the aliens on is a military-style environment, akin to how an Earth battleship would probably be, and the aliens' lack of freedom, so to speak, is due to the rigid nature of such a setting. This might be more likely since the civilian worker aliens are most often seen carrying for their lives, while the ranked soldiers will commonly fight to the death. As discussed previously, the US became aware of the Zetans after they had abducted Colonel Hartigan in 2062, yet this was far from humanity's first and last introduction with the aliens. The aliens had abducted human beings for many centuries for the purpose of experimentation. An extensive library of audio logs found on Mothership Zeta showcase an operation that has gone on for many centuries. Some human beings were simply interrogated, being made to record almost a testimony before being suspended in frozen animation for seemingly ever. Others were cruelly experimented on, with some seeming to be tortured simply just to see how much abuse the human body could take. Most horrifyingly, some human beings are injected with alien DNA, shaping their genetic makeup into a Zetan human hybrid that is labelled as an abomination. The reason for the creation of these creatures is theorized to create foot soldiers that are less physically frail and better at combat than the Zetans and their robotic auxiliaries. However, the experiments do not seem to have been perfected, as abominations will launch themselves at all opponents, Zetan or otherwise, seeking to tear them apart with their hands and teeth. It unfortunately seems to be the case that some trace of their humanity remains within their genetically altered shell, as some will thank the player when they're killed. We've got no idea on how the Zetans reproduce, or if there's any differences in gender even within the species, The Zetans do not speak any other language than their own, seemingly to not have the care to learn or at least build a tech that translates their language and the languages of Earth. For all their interactions with humanity, the Zetans aren't interested in talking to us. While seemingly happy to stay as observers, Zetans have had a particular effect on the pre- and post-war world of Fallout. The pre-war governments of the world were evidently aware of their existence. Alien bodies were examined within an enclave research facility, while another was vivisected at Fort Bannister by the United States military. A flying saucer with 2 alien bodies is also able to be found in Fallout 1, which could be considered a tongue-in-cheek reference since the craft has a note reading, "Property of Area 51, return if found." Pre-war civilians, such as the founder of Herbology, evidently had some interactions with Zetans, given the fact that their family heirloom is literally an alien blaster. Many post-war factions have some knowledge of the Zetans also.
Find out why people are giving Naturally Friendly Hello toothpaste 5 stars.
You really gotta try this.
Oh, yo, what's up? What is up? Garbage Internet 69 here, and today we are streaming at 2 FPS slideshow and do not forget 2P.
An alien power cells are found within the Citadel and Fort Independence. The Shi also have knowledge of aliens and had hoped to interrogate and examine a specimen that was believed to have been captured by the herbologist. Regardless of the aliens' genetic makeup, pre-war governments were mostly interested in their advanced technology. A key piece of technology confirmed in-game does show that the United States had modified technology that was based on alien tech. This is seen from Skynet, an incredibly advanced pre-war artifact.
Isn't that a reference to Skynet and Terminator?
Sierra Depot station of the United States Army. Plasma weaponry is also theorized to have been based on alien design, given the existence of the MPLX Nova Surge plasma pistol, a pre-war weapon, alien origins, that had been...
Yeah, the internet's been bad ever since, like, what? Yeah, it's gonna look like freaking Minecraft, but as if it wasn't smooth. No, I didn't really do anything. Finally, this building is done. This building was supposed to be done a week ago, but was unable to be completed due to the immense amounts of lag. There is one spot that is missing. This might be like a power company's station. What is this? Oh. It's not on real life, but what's it called? I do believe there is some sort of intelligence. I'm sorry, I thought you were in a party. I wanted to talk to you. I'll send an invite minute. Anyway, look at the planet Titan. Titan does not look like anything special. However, it does have an atmosphere. The reason that most planets do not possess an atmosphere is because the gravity is so tough that it just collapses and pops it like a bubble. However, there is a few, what's it called? There is actually a few planets like Titan that do possess a atmosphere. However, the problem with Titan is it is so cold that methane, yes, the same methane you burn as a gas here on Earth, flows in liquid rivers. Titan also possesses gigantic valleys, dwarfing the Grand Canyon here in the United States and any canyon on Earth, even the Greenland Canyon. Nice. Yeah, maybe, I guess. Yeah, no problem. I wonder what I can build this building out of. No, I don't do Twitch. I don't ever want to do Twitch because it's apparently going downhill and it is extremely sexist and toxic. I do not care for Twitch, and I'm sorry. What color should we do next? For another corporation. Purple. And I know it sounds, I hope it doesn't sound edgy, but the yellow corporation's tower is going to be called Techno Agricultural Industries. And if you didn't catch it already, Techno Agricultural Industries is a friendly nod towards the legend of Technoblade. The green one is Green Tech Corporations. Green Tech Corporations are, what's it called? Or, this might be called Techno Corporations. I don't know. This will deal with ranching, I think, and this will deal with plants. Green Tech is biodivision science that will actually, and both of them together will be known as the Agrico Joint, also known as the country's leading farming and ranching corporation that will bind farmers across the nations and offer to buy, sell, and distribute their crops. This building over here is known as Smithton Corporations or Smithton Water Solutions. They are the #1 water purification and solution building or corporation in the entirety of Abteria. And this is Mineral. Mineral is another one giant corporate brand focusing on the extraction, refining, and processing of all minerals. Next one, I'm going to bring back Energen, which is the company that owns the nuclear power plant in the previous country. Yeah, Energen, and there was Green Gen too, and stupid Enderman. I'm sorry, it's gonna take me a little bit to kind of think. So I want to have this as brick, but color. I probably might do yellow.
Studied by scientists before being reclaimed by the Zetans. Giddy-up buttercups were also imagined to have been part of an alien infiltration program, creating a product humanity would bring into their homes, allowing them to be under surveillance at all time. This ultimately raises the question of what the goals of the Zetans are. Mothership Zeta has been abducting human beings over the course of many centuries, and more recently moved on to post-war specimens such as supermutants and ghouls. Their technology far outpaced mankind's, even at the height of our technological prowess, yet they never made any forays into establishing a foothold on claiming or conquering the planet. This would not have been a difficult feat for them. The death ray on Mothership Zeta can be seen to destroy a large portion of Canada with one single burst, and that is on an incredibly damaged ship. The fact that another mothership was in orbit and immediately began attacking captured Mothership Zeta vessel shows that they do have a presence in space around Earth. So essentially, the fact is that they could conquer us if they so desired, but have chosen not to. Maybe our planet is just one of many that they're examining, just one exhibit within a galaxy-spanning zoo that they've chosen to visit every now and then. Maybe it's part of some larger plan to exterminate and eventually colonize the Earth. It has been theorized that aliens were the ones to start the Great War, as a recording transcript exists of them extracting the United States nuclear launch codes during an interrogation session. Most interestingly, it appears to be some form of mind probe extraction, as the interviewee exclaims that the aliens are accessing information within his mind itself. And besides Zeta and the other destroyed motherships, it is apparent that other motherships must be in orbit. We are able to find one of the aliens' recon crafts docked in the Mothership Zeta's spaceport, seemingly to be the same make that are crashing into the Mojave and Capital Wastelands, as well as the Commonwealth. These craft evidently are unable to traverse the expanse of space on their own, and must be launched from a home vessel. Since 2 recon craft can be found, one in New Vegas and another within Fallout 4, there is a high chance that there definitely is at least one other mothership, potentially 2, still observing our planet. It's unknown how the events of Mothership Zeta would have affected their observations on the surface, however, as they may be wary of abducting more Wastelanders, who will eventually seize the ship for their own. In conclusion, the Zetans' entry into the Fallout series is part of the game's 1950s-esque world future setting. They mirror our real-world image of an alien, and must have entered into the Fallout universe's public consciousness, given that they appear in comic books found throughout the West. Compared to many of the more wacky within Fallout, ghosts, psychers, or Lovecraftian horrors, Zetans have had an entire DLC dedicated to them, as well as references throughout every entry of the series. It's easy to dismiss them out of hand as another abnormal addition to the games, but they've also had so much lore and history applied to them as a race that there's much more to them than meets the eye. Hopefully, we might be able to see more of them in the future entry into the series.
Come seek the Royal Caribbean.
Hey YouTube, don't miss the BET Hip Hop Awards 2022 with Hip Hop Flow. BET Hip Hop Awards 2022, the only stage where hip hop flows. Tuesday, October 4th at 9, hosted by Fat Joe.
Within Fallout 4, 4 key factions can be aligned with to shape the future of the Commonwealth. The Institute, the Brotherhood of Steel, the Minutemen, and even the Railroad each have their own vision on what the future of the region should be. As the player character, Join these factions, helping them bring about their goals, or deny them their pride
Back.
by fighting against them. Yet there is one other faction that seems to have their own designs for the Commonwealth, a group which outwardly combats all four other factions, seemingly for their own purposes. This group is the Gunners, a highly militarized mercenary faction based in and around the Commonwealth. The Gunners are classified as a gang, and yet, even from a glance, they stand apart from the raiders scene in the Commonwealth, or even Nuka World. One could argue that they are simply well-dressed and well-organized savages, but this would be a lazy way of categorizing them. The Gunners are much closer to the Brotherhood of Steel as a faction, seemingly having the same sort of structure as a military junta compared to a loose band of raiders. However, despite their distinct faction structure, the Gunners appeared to be one of the key groups of Fallout 4 whose content had been left on the cutting room floor. There is much about the group that is left incredibly unclear, whether through accident or design. So who the heck are they?
As owner of Mint Mobile, I always want to find ways to save you money. So let's meet the barely paid spokesperson.
The Gunners are unique in the styling of their group. Their members are given rankings similar to the United States military, with many of the troops faced in battle listed as a conscript, a private, a sergeant, lieutenant, etc. They outfit themselves in military-style gear and operate under a strict chain of command. The force in the Commonwealth are led by Captain West, found in the Gunners Plaza. Yet, even he appears to be outranked by an unseen Colonel Cypress, who seemingly is directing their forces from outside the Commonwealth. Unlike raiders who are out for themselves in battle, Gunners are adept at small unit tactics and coordinating assaults on their opponents. They have their blood type tattooed onto the side of their forehead in order to allow their medics the best chance at keeping them alive. They are outfitted with sophisticated weaponry and tech, with the highest ranking officers commonly seen possessing plasma rifles. They have even been seen to possess vertibirds, or at least have the know-how to steal and fly them. Their strongholds are typically well constructed and defended, typically making use of pre-existing fortifications such as old highways, or, in the case of Gunners Plaza, which formerly was Galaxy News Network. When encountered out in the wild, they typically occupy or search a location that possesses strategic or material gain for them. However, the main way that Gunners differ from raider gangs is that they're not driven to fight purely out of cruelty or malice. As a mercenary company, the group is driven by material gain, rather than outright evil. Whereas a raider would ambush a wastelander for pure kicks or to loot their corpse, Gunners will often warn roaming scavengers before firing upon them. This is able to be seen when approaching mass fusion. Gunner sentries will warn you that the area is off limits and to move along. They only choose to open fire if their orders are ignored, or if you're deemed a threat by them. Gunners can even be seen exacting tolls on the player, and will only open fire if the player does not pay. Even when fighting Gunners, many will shout that they hope someone had placed a bounty on you, deeming that combat is typically only undertaken in self-defense, or when completing a contract. Despite their fearsome reputation, the largest client base for the Gunners are seemingly Commonwealth residents. Caravan guards can be seen employing Gunners to protect their trade routes. A force is recruited to steal a Deathclaw egg on behalf of Wellingham, and the Cabot family employ a contingent to guard their mental asylum. Although they have the ability to work alongside the residents of the Commonwealth, they are obviously fine with taking what they want with brute force, if necessary. The Minutemen were nearly destroyed by the Gunner assault on Quincy, who seemingly occupied the town not for an employer, but for their own personal gain. The mercenaries can also be seen assaulting the Atom Cats for the purpose of requisitioning their power armor. This would indicate Raider-esque behaviour, but I do still feel it's more in line with the Gunner philosophy. Winlock and Barnes state that they don't want to kill McReady in order to not start a war with Goodneighbour, claiming that they know how to respect boundaries. I feel this is more the case that a conflict with the second largest settlement would be devastating for the Gunners and yield more losses than gains. Meanwhile, pillaging the Atom Cats in Quincy is a relatively low-risk, high-reward operation. Gunners, while being ruthless, are motivated less by outright control and power, but monetary reward. As McCready states, for the Gunners, it's always about the bottom line. One of the common complaints of Fallout 4 is how the player is unable to undertake an evil or less benevolent path, similar to Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. The sole survivor is able to join the Nuka World Raider gangs to carve a path in the Commonwealth, but even then, our actions are largely just claiming an area and telling the settlers they need to pay tribute. As weird as this will sound, one One of the main things Fallout 4 lacks is the ability to commit atrocities, like blowing up Megaton in Fallout 3, or subjugating the Mojave under Caesar's Legion in New Vegas. The Gunners would have been the perfect group to enable the player to pursue an evil path in the game, while still being able to partake in the story missions as well. The Gunners, although having a notorious reputation, are able to enter settlements such as Diamond City and Goodneighbor freely. Commonwealth residents make use of their services to take contracts or missions, no matter how unscrupulous, as long as the pay is good. It would essentially allow for the radiant quest giving, similar to the Minutemen or Brotherhood, where Wastelanders ask you to take care of local wildlife, raider gangs, or even innocents that the employer wanted to have eliminated. It would allow the player to interact with the Commonwealth residents while still role-playing as a horrible human being. That was always the strangest part of being Overboss in Nuka World. You're legitimately the King of Raiders, a monster who seeks to claim the Commonwealth for your pack of ne'er-do-wells. Yet, you're not barred from any settlement. Preston whinges at you, but you're still technically General of the Minutemen. There's no punishment or change in behaviour for your actions. People will still speak to you as if they're your best mate. The Gunners could have been a fifth force for determining the future of the Commonwealth. I pictured this in the same vein as the wildcard ending for New Vegas, an ending available if you pissed off every other major faction. The Gunners are outwardly hostile to each of the other four main factions, which would give an in-game reason why the group would condone a war with the likes of the Brotherhood or Institute. They would have a vested interest in the destruction of these opponents, as it would ultimately serve their goals. Not to mention, joining the Gunners would definitely offer perks. Being able to traverse the Commonwealth without constantly entering a firefight with them would be a plus, and the ability to use their outpost as a safe refuge would be perfect for survival runs. Not to mention, the fact that they have access to vertibirds would allow a canon in-game reason for signal grenades to be made accessible to the player. So while we know a bit about the Gunners, or at least what they should have been, one key question is unanswered. Where do they come from? The question of where the Gunners had come from is one that is pondered by Commonwealth residents. The Gunners are hinted at not being native to the region, with Piper and Nick indicating that an external, outside force appears to be funding the group's expedition. Deacon, who's in the business of knowing everything, states outright that no one really knows who's pulling their strings. The group obviously must have come from somewhere, and most notably must have had run-ins with the Brotherhood of Steel in the past. Dance, having only arrived in the Commonwealth in recent times, declares that Gunners are unable to be reasoned with and will never surrender. Idle comments from Brotherhood members display past knowledge of the Gunners, with one stating that an individual never turn their back on a gunner. This isn't to state that the Gunners are native to the capital wasteland, but they evidently have at least some form of expansion in between Washington and Massachusetts for the two parties to have come into conflict. The Gunners had evidently not come across Nuka World, located in the southeast, in their initial travels to the Commonwealth. A strike force is able to be located near Nuka World Station, intending to make an expedition into the area. Given that the Glowing Sea occupies a huge portion of the routes directly south, the Gunners would have had to have travelled along the coast of the Commonwealth from their home. Or, perhaps despite common opinion, the Gunners weren't an external force seeking to plunder a foreign land, but a returning army, settling into a region that was once home. Theories abound that the Gunners, or their descendants, were the product of a twisted experiment from Vault 75. Vault-Tec was commissioned by the US military to experiment on and train children to become battle-ready super soldiers who would obey orders without question or second thoughts. From ages 15 and younger, children were made to undertake grueling drills and obstacles to shape them into a trained army. Those intelligent enough were recruited by Vault-Tec to continue the experiment. The physically strong were harvested, and I mean their bodies were literally harvested, for genetic material to clone other physically superior troops. The weak were purged. The Vault 75 experiment was eventually ended in a violent uprising by the child soldiers, led by one of their recruited scientists. Their fate after the fact was never exactly known. However, what did happen was a literal army of brainwashed children led an exodus out of the Vault into the world. A group that knew only strength and cunning would allow them to obtain what they needed. The experiment to create a standing military force of soldiers may have actually been a success, just not in the way the scientists may have originally intended. Vault 75 is located in the Commonwealth, and gunners can be found enforced within it. Now, this could just be standing operating procedure to locate a defensible position to plunder for supplies and technology. Gunners can be found in other vaults, however, it's interesting that they occupy this one. Vault 75 honestly does not hold that much value within it. Regardless, this is pure speculation. Many players have theorized that there simply was just not that much thought put into the gunners, or their core content was left out of the base game by the designers themselves. The group is there to fill the same role as the Talon Company, another evil, well-armed faction with little backstory who seem to be able to hold their own against a multitude of other warring factions. If there was much more to be done with them, it probably would have been expanded on within one of the DLCs. Regardless, I hope you've enjoyed this video theorizing the who, what, why, where, and when of the guns in Fallout 4. Thank you for watching.
Top set. Oh, it's Phantom Strider. I like watching Phantom Strider.
Goals for the third quarter. She doesn't have time for more numbers, so she reaches for creamy, delicious ratio. For less calculation and more satisfaction. Ratio. We do the math, so you don't have to.
Earn your degree faster at Purdue University Global. With over 175 online programs, there's one for you. Start today with a 3-week risk-free trial. Apply now at purdueglobal.edu.
Howdy. What? Sometimes you might look at a food and think, cheapest, that is the stupidest idea I've ever heard. Who in their right mind would eat that? Such as a chicken-flavored chocolate or a bacon sundae. Frankly, some of these foods are so vacuously stupid that I just tend to think only a true mastermind of evil would ever befoul humanity with these unsightly horrors.
You have to hurt yourself to eat it.
So we're going to take a look back at these international abominations today. Let's check out the 10 stupidest fast foods. This is all meant in good fun, and this is my silly personal opinion. And feel free to post your own opinion in the comments. Anyway, let's begin. And for a quick bonus entry, let's start with number 11. Pizza Box Pizza.
Pizza time.
Because who needs a boring old cardboard pizza box when you can have a pizza box? I'm sorry, I know this is very
okay.
I just think this is a dumb idea. How does this make any logical sense for effectively delivering a pizza? Personally, I see multiple issues. Issue 1. The pizza you're delivering in the pizza's pizza box will likely smush together with a pizza that is also the pizza box. Combining all these different...
And it would get contaminated. The reason is, like, literally, with a freaking pizza, you can almost put in a garbage truck, and then the pizza's shielded from, you know, the garbage. Now, it's not a good idea, but, like, yeah, you get what I mean. The pizza boxes are built to shield the pizza from all the bad stuff.
They first shape, top, and cook the pizza. Then they have to shape, cook, and top the pizza box top. Then they do the same for the pizza box bottom.
What the hell going on?
Assuming they're fast and can cook one layer every 13 minutes, they have taken nearly 40 minutes to cook this pizza box. Meaning the pizza is probably going to be getting cold by the time the pizza box is ready. And you'll probably have an impatient customer by then. Back in the day, on a quiet day at Pizza Hut, in 40 minutes I could make 240 cardboard pizza boxes. And I got fired multiple times for being slow, too. My third issue is, this just doesn't seem like a effective way to deliver a pizza.
It doesn't.
The pizza box itself will likely get cold and moldy if left out. Because it's pizza, and it will probably attract bugs over time.
Man, what's up, Doc?
No, not that bugs, that'd be awesome. The other bugs. Plus, imagine actually holding a boiling hot, fresh, greasy pizza box pizza, then transporting the pizza box pizza directly onto a dirty car seat or car floor on a long car trip back to the house. By the time you get home, the giant doughy monstrosity may be a little less appetizing. However, I do think there are some pluses to this style of pizza box. For starters, it does mean a lot less wastage. Again, you do have to eat a cold, oily pizza dough box to survive being on the car floor or the car seat for 20 minutes. But technically, yeah, you could still eat it. I mean, you could store the pizza box pizza in a regular pizza box, but I feel like that kind of destroys the whole point of the pizza box pizza. However, respects to Vintage
Pizza box pizza.
for coming up with this rather odd
Oh my
idea.
god.
They still sell at least one pizza box pizza per day, so maybe I'm completely in the wrong on this. But I just can't get by Brooklyn Pizza's recommendation in this Instagram post. Used to propose to your significant other. Just, really? I actually just proposed to my fiancée yesterday, and I'm curious of Nin's opinion on this. Honey, how would you have felt if I had proposed to you with a pizza?
Well, I wouldn't say no, but I'd definitely prefer a ring that isn't made of pizza.
And that's perfectly fair. Number 10. KFC's Donut Fried Chicken Sandwich. This is probably the most well-known example of the Luther Burger, aka the Donut Hamburger.
What?
And get used to KFC forefronting these bafflingly unhealthy foods. Because funnily enough, KFC, the company that helped skyrocket obesity rates around the world, is not afraid to make their foods a metaphorical atom bomb to our bodies. On my Twitter, this was actually the most requested fast food for this video. But just, what even is this? Well, it's a crispy fried chicken fillet layered between two glazed donuts.
I'm sorry, what?
And the KFC version seems to be a somehow less decadent version than the traditional Luther Burger, which is a glazed donut bacon cheeseburger, aka the cardiologist's worst nightmare. So how does it taste? Well, let's ask someone else, so we don't have to subject our own bodies to such cruel and unusual punishment. KBD Productions tried it, and his first comments were, "It is the messiest burger in the world." Report of the Week mentioned this too.
This is not something that you want to eat in your car. You can see already the
Both had to thoroughly wash their
Too much
hands.
grease for me and as an American.
And that does make sense. I mean, you're picking up
Identifying as a true fat, red-blooded American, I cannot see myself eating this.
KBD liked it.
And it does taste great.
The combined smell of baked donuts and fried chicken left him considering it a...
That's like drinking Pepsi with cookies, or eating cookies with fries. It just doesn't go together. Cookies, candies, and sweets are kind of like, you know, like a sugary foods. Or like, that's their own things. You know, like, hey, hamburgers, chicken, beef are kind of like, you know, their own things.
Full-on bacon cheese donut burger show up at restaurants yet, but Wiki reports it's quite popular at state fairs. I believe Sam's Fried Chicken and Donuts offered it, but they appear to have since closed down. And for number 9, the KFC Double Down Dog. Oh my. The Philippines has produced some unusual fast food items before. But what over-decadent monstrosity...
It looks like a fried dick. I'm sorry, I have to say it. It is literally a fried...
insanity with the Double Down Sandwich, which was bacon and cheese wedged together between 2 slices of deep-fried chicken. Proudly high in fat and low in fiber. But eventually, KFC decided their innuendo was too, subtle. And someone at KFC thought,
Hey, what if we got crazy and gave that deep fried chicken a sausage instead and called it the Double Down Dog? You get it?
everyone in the boardroom got it and wished they didn't. When it was released, reactions to this Double Down Dog ranged between ooh and ah, mostly the latter. But what's strange about these Double Down Dogs was some of the weird rules behind them. Most Philippine KFCs had this rule that they could only serve a maximum of 50 Double Down Dogs per day. Maybe they only wanted to give a max of 50 people per day death by chicken? You know, a weird problem I found is, so many of these stupid fast foods look abysmal anywhere outside the commercial. Much like the Cheezer, in this commercial, the Double Down Dog looks pretty decadent. But when we get to see the selfie shots of this thing,
it looks more dangerous than if you just left a freaking chicken nugget into a Chernobyl reactor and ate it after you let it sit there for an hour.
See the seasoning on it. You can see the seasoning on it. Look at the way the sauce is put on just perfectly.
But what does it taste like? Well, none of the reviewers I could find actually lived in the Philippines, so it seemed like no one knew. But almost unanimously, every single person I could find thought it looked revolting. More commonly, people tended to comment on how explicit it looked rather than what it tasted like.
And then come back with you looking like this.
Luckily, Reckless Eating combined the KFC ingredients to give his own ghetto version a try, and he did think it tasted pretty good.
Oh my god, it's so good.
He said the greasiness of the 2 fried chickens combined well with the sausage. And dudes in Space made ghetto versions too. They commented that it tasted extremely meaty, which isn't too surprising. It is literally all meat. Their final thoughts?
It's a thing.
Even more damning,
It's a thing.
these ghetto versions were superiorly made to the original versions, since most KFC meals are hastily thrown together without much thought by overworked, underpaid employees. Overall, there's probably a reason the Double Down Dog only lasted 2 days in KFC restaurants before being abandoned. On a side note, I can never figure out why almost every taste tester always does their taste testing in the car. I don't mind or anything, it just puzzles me. I remember when I asked the community on Twitter, my favorite answer was probably this. I'm sure this is not the case, but is this funny?
Hey, the internet, how do you feel about some gross guys eating some gross stuff?
My good sir, fear not. Gross people eating gross stuff is a foundation of the YouTube algorithm, along with cat videos and creepy surprise egg videos. Anyway.
Yes, you can eat Pillsbury cookie dough raw. Or bacon.
eBay Motors. They have all the right parts at the right prices. Whether I'm on 2 wheels, 4 wheels, or no wheels.
You still got 4 wheels. That's still an amphibious vehicle. You got 4 wheels.
Number 8. The KFC Cheetos sandwich.
This is something straight out of like a Call of Duty player's dream.
The most revolting and stupid fast food ideas to ever grace the planet. We get another slice of KFC's deep fried chicken.
Deep fried that ass.
And just a wad of Cheetos just kind of stuffed in there.
Moist Cheetos.
Cheetos sauce. Because I guess Cheetos just weren't Cheetos flavored enough. Cheetos sauce is basically just melted down Cheetos. Because who doesn't want to drink their Cheetos? Ugh, sorry. If I ever need to go on a diet, this is the food I'm looking at to lose my appetite. But food is probably too generous a word here. I feel like this combines all the most processing foods that have ever been processed. I legitimately had to look up what Cheetos originally were, because I realized, what even were Cheetos to begin with? I believe, based on my research, Cheetos were once corn? At this point, though, they're just not recognizable as anything. So where do we start with this stupid idea? Was there really an overwhelming number of KFC customers saying, "Hey, my KFC deep-fried chicken isn't packed with enough empty, flavorless calories. I demand you stuff my deep-fried chicken burger full of Cheetos"? I guess what makes this fast food feel so stupid to me is it just feels like KFC is leading the march on how fast can buyers stuff the most amount of calories into their mouth in the shortest amount of time. Then there's also the abrupt breaking of mouthfeel. Originally, everything in the KFC chicken is designed to be soft and easy to chew, but then they stuffed these annoyingly hard, completely differently flavored Cheetos into the middle of the burger to just ruin the experience. I'm gonna blow KFC's mind here, but what if you gave a customer a burger, then you gave them a separate pack of Cheetos? Not stuffed inside another food, just a regular pack. Perhaps they could even enjoy these completely contrasting foods as separate meals. You're welcome to take this idea, KFC. Number 7. The Safghani King by Burger King. Just a reminder, me making fun of this burger means no ill will to anyone in Israel who might enjoy it. I just personally think it's a stupid combination by Burger King. But I'm also not Jewish or religious at all for that matter, so take my opinion with a pinch of salt. So a little background about the Safghani King. The Safganiyot is a deep-fried donut with powdered sugar and jelly on top. It's part of the Jewish tradition of Hanukkah to eat deep-fried foods like this for 8 days and nights.
Really?
Apparently this is to celebrate their religion's miracle.
Is it really a religion to do that?
Jump to 2016.
That is interesting. I literally never knew that.
Where they just couldn't sell burgers in Israel because Hanukkah has most people eating fried donuts. So the
Fried donuts?
Let's combine two tasty things.
That's kind of interesting.
Disgusting. And thus they brought Hanukkah to Burger King with the Safghani King. A Whopper sandwiched between 2 halves of a donut and topped with ketchup jam. Because I guess regular ketchup was just too normal. But don't worry, just in case you were worried these jelly donuts would taste like jelly donuts, they've instead filled these donuts with ketchup because Why not, I guess?
Thanks.
Is there any way they could have possibly made a less healthy Hanukkah
Dude,
lunch?
ketchup tastes good on its own, but when you serve it in large quantities, it tastes awful.
This just seems stupid. Apparently, and that's a
The only condiment I can eat without anything else is ranch.
in the media. But because I don't speak Hebrew, I can't quite tell if the Israel outlets were happy or horrified.
The Safghani King became the biggest miracle Hanukkah has seen in 2,000 years.
Well, I guess that depends what the Jewish religion considers a miracle. I feel like the only miracle they've managed here is making something so simultaneously unhealthy, yet miraculously bad tasting at the same time. Most of the English-speaking media outlets I've found called this food horrifying and a monstrosity. But again, these are mostly English-speaking outlets, such as Jerusalem Post, so maybe it's a cultural difference. But I think it's at least worth mentioning, even in the Israel commercial, the guy picks up the burger but doesn't even take a single bite. Maybe the Safghani King helped him realize the nightmare that his life had become and he just walked off set. I don't know. But the big question is, how does it taste? Well, despite the claims that this thing hit record sales, I surprisingly couldn't find many YouTubers that even mentioned this thing, yet alone try it. Josh Elkin tried it out and he had this to say.
Definitely one of the worst bites I've ever had.
Ah dear. He couldn't actually find it at Burger King, so he tried cooking it on his own. And his response ranged from meh to terrible. So maybe this is just an acquired cultural taste. But personally, I think this is one of the most unnecessarily weird and unhealthy fast food combinations Burger King has
It is
managed.
weird.
And coming in at
Donut, like what's it called? Sweets and deep fried food does not go together.
Oh man, these people are in bad shape. What ridiculous country decided to bring this atrocity to light? What do you mean my country made it? Exclusive to my country? Well, we're not that ridiculous. Yes, I remember the EU war we lost. Okay, we lost it twice. Never mind. So you know how your traditional pizza has a dough crust? Well, what if you made a Doritos crust? Personally, that sounds nauseating to me, but let's press on. I mean, even the guy in the commercial sounds uncertain of the horrors he's gotten himself into.
A taste so irresistible, you'll completely lose yourself.
And perhaps in an act of mercy, I could only find 2 Aussie YouTubers who tried this thing. But just because a fast food sounds like a terrible idea, that doesn't necessarily make it taste terrible. What do the taste testers say?
And I just rolled it for myself. It tastes like shit.
And there you have it, folks. A revoltingly unhealthy fast food that also tastes terrible. Bringing into question how this ever sold. Lewis Perry described it as tasting like burnt corn chips that just happened to be baked into a crust. He rated it 2 out of 10. Jojo Jeff wasn't much kinder in his review. He pointed out that the corn chips would very quickly get soggy if the pizza wasn't eaten quickly. He called it a pizza that wasn't quite
Pizza?
a dud. But that's not exactly huge praise. But it appears, as of 2022, the Doritos pizza is well and truly extinct.
Doritos pizza. I don't know why I didn't hear that.
Groups on the internet trying to bring back obscure foods like this. But I honestly could not find a single group or person that wanted this Doritos pizza back, which probably speaks wonders of how much people liked it. Number 5. KFC chicken-flavored chocolate truffles. Chocolate and chicken. Just why? It's pretty common to hear the term tastes like chicken. However, I've never heard someone say this about a piece of chocolate. Until this, anyway. Now, there are many things that do go together well. Peanut butter and jelly, salt and vinegar, sour cream and chives. But in what universe did someone think chocolate and chicken would go together? KFC in New Zealand is responsible for this one, in celebration of Mother's Day. KFC took a nutty, creamy milk chocolate, then flavored it with the 11 herbs and spices in KFC seasoning. Apparently, because this still wasn't weird enough, they also infused the chocolate with a hot and spicy marinade. Admittedly, though, they didn't actually try and sell these in store, because I guess that would just be the ultimate level of stupid marketing. Instead, KFC produced only 15 chicken-flavored chocolate boxes to be given away via a Facebook competition. So perhaps mercifully, these chocolates were not available to taste. I'm sure they didn't taste good, but I did want to tell you what they tasted like. Unfortunately, I couldn't find trace of anyone who'd actually ever tasted them. I guess for most people, common sense kicked in. So I hope you don't mind. Abysmal. I do hope KFC continues to branch outside of deep-fried chicken, but this was just their strangest combination I'd ever seen. And for number 4, the KFC Cheezer.
Cheezer?
Apparently this Cheezer is quite popular in Singapore, and it also
I felt like...
ad in India. Can I have a piece? Sure. But I don't know, man. Hearing this look good? The KFC India ad presents this cheeser like this beautiful combination of pizza and KFC chicken all rolled into one. But in reality we get, well, this.
It looks like corium, but as a food. This stuff melted together to cause an amalgamation of pure hell, terror, and chaos.
As it sounds. In the ad, we can clearly see it's been carefully carved into pizza slices. But everyone I've seen actually
What?
And as you can see, it looks every bit as appetizing
What did it say?
as it sounds. In the ad,
This product contains added monosodium glutamate, not recommended for infants below 12
you can
months.
clearly see it's been carefully carved into pizza slices. But everyone I've seen actually buy this gets this ugly slab of chicken that no one even attempted to cut nicely. With ingredients where topping seems too generous a word, dump seems more suitable.
If you shop at Walmart, you know how to spend a little less, to get a little more, to feel a lot better.
They said you wouldn't do it. They said you'd give up. But fall is here. And your car has a 650-pound pumpkin on it. Fall hard with Duncan.
I feel bad for this person because they are demonstrating how to cut it, but they've had to cut it themselves with scissors. There's something about cutting a pizza with scissors that just seems so wrong. Anyway, my nitpicking aside, how does it actually taste? Well, apparently pretty good. Although it looks hideous, taste testers like Greg's Kitchen considered it outright palatable. The combination of the hot and spicy chicken with the saucy cheese left him impressed. At least in taste, he said that the combination was meant to be. Dancing Bacon's also tried it, and they also like the flavor. So even if the cheeser looks like an ugly dump of fried chicken with zero effort put into presentation, at least it left the taste testers marginally impressed. Personally though, I go with Greg's home-cooked version of the cheeser any day over the KFC version. And for number 3, the Halloween Whopper.
Try the all
A black hamburger?
with A1 sauce right now for a limited time.
Oh dear. Who honestly looks at a hamburger and says, hey,
It's like
let's
Pretty
make it look
Patties.
like it's covered in black mold. That'll sell the burger.
Black, it's weird. It looks like it's rotten, but it
That's what she said.
feels alright.
Obviously, the intention was to make a burger that had a unique Halloween flair, but it is amazing just how quickly people's excitement for the Halloween Whopper vanished. The burger is like your traditional Whopper with a patty, cheese, lettuce, tomatoes, pickles, onions, and mayonnaise. But with the simple twist that the bun is spooky jet black. But when a person eats a meal, a surprising amount of the meal is tasted visually. Fast foods make their food look appetizing because, well, how we think of food looks influences how it tastes to us.
Yep.
When people unwrap their Whopper to find a big jet black burger staring back at them, suddenly a lot of people felt a little green, and this greenness extended to their insides too. You see, it was a very well-known side effect that the Halloween Whopper would turn people's waist green. So
Oh.
for every part of its journey, from start to finish through your body, this Whopper is made to be a horrific green experience. Now you may be asking,
I'd say it looks like it gives you like diarrhea or like some or it just destroys your colon.
An explanation on CBS News. He said the food coloring made to turn the bun black was the main culprit. The black food coloring wasn't entirely absorbed by people's guts, and these black dyes, combined with the dyes Burger King's use in their regular buns, mixing with the stomach's yellow waste, results in green waste. Charming. The result? Well, as Eric said, my stool was as green as the Irish countryside after a quenching rain. It was glorious. No. The McChoco nuts. Leave it to
Choco nuts? What? That sounds so bad. That sounds like inappropriate. That sounds like something like a racist would say. Dude, look at my Choco nuts. I'm sorry. I'm dead at this point. I can't.
I kind of thought hamburgers were made for meats, you know? Thus the name hamburger. So basically, instead of a meat patty for your hamburger, you swap it for a big lump of chocolate with Nutella nuts.
Choco nuts.
But wow, McDonald's Ortonville was
Choco nuts.
how they make them in the restaurant. Thanks, I gave you a like. But how does this strange French anomaly actually taste? Well, this one was a bit more tricky to discern, as a lot of taste testers were speaking in French, based on the body language and tone of Les Apprentis chefs.
Là, il y a vraiment de quoi faire plaisir. Pourquoi pas le repasser un tout petit peu au four?
I think he seemed to like it. Notably, though, he didn't finish it. But this was also a beautiful homemade version. How'd the real thing taste? Well, luckily, Florian also tried it. Once again, what we get in reality is so vastly inferior and sad-looking compared to the original promo picture. He was given a flat, empty-looking, stale set of buns with chocolate dripping out the side. On the plus side, though, it certainly does seem to live up to its chocolatey name. His thoughts? Well, again, he speaks French.
Suite en direct. Bon, alors comme prévu, ça n'a pas du tout la même tête parce que forcément.
But from what I could tell from body language, he did seem to like the taste okay and noticed the flavor. He said, c'est pas mauvais, which I translated to, it's not bad. But overall, he certainly didn't seem over the moon about it. Sam was a different story. She speaks English and she visits Disneyland Paris regularly. So maybe she can tell us more clearly how it tasted. Well, it sure looks like a very messy burger. Chocolate was constantly drizzling from the bun. And if you're trying to eat it politely,
That sounds like a great way to speedrun yourself into a stomach ache. A very bad stomach.
So possibly a tasty treat if you're a sweet tooth. Though obviously you're not going to get a very filling meal when you fill up on a fiberless chocolate burger with Nutella nuts. But hey, you're in Disneyland. I'd probably go for a treat too. But if you dare to try it, definitely bring some extra napkins. And for the #1 stupidest fast food, the Burger King Bacon Sundae.
Bacon Sundae.
This has to be the stupidest combination of ingredients I've ever seen put to fast foods. What doesn't belong in this description? Vanilla soft serve with hot chocolate, good. With caramel, good. And of course, top that ice cream off with some bacony bits and a big old slab of bacon. Wow. Truly, Burger King believes that bacon tastes good on anything. But ice cream? Really? I'm sorry, it's just hard to fully articulate how wrong these two
It
ingredients
sounds such... That had... I don't know, I didn't really hear it yet, but this has to come from America. No other country would make this. This just sounds so American, and I'm not saying that's a good thing. That thing is probably loaded to the brim with fat.
His thoughts? It tastes wrong.
On so many levels, this Bacon Sundae is dead wrong.
Honestly, beyond that, I think it's mostly drama. I couldn't actually find a straight answer from this guy. But maybe it's a generation gap, I don't know. Fortunately, one of my favorite taste testers, KBD Productions, also tried it, and he gave a much clearer answer. Neither him or his son seemed at all enthused by the taste. The saltiness didn't contrast well with the ice cream, but they hesitantly concluded they order it again. Super Tasted Daily also tried it. He didn't taste much of the bacon, but he certainly found it added a crunch to the ice cream. The bacon pieces kind of act like walnuts or peanuts, giving the ice cream that extra texture. The problem with taste testing a bacon sundae is, what can they actually say about a bacon sundae? The combination is just so completely dissimilar and wrong that it doesn't have any unique flavor. It's just two completely different tastes that have no logic being stuck together. I feel like at this we've reached the point where Burger King is just randomly sticking together random ingredients they've got left over. For me anyway, this is an easy winner. The Burger King Bacon Sundae is the stupidest fast food I could find. And with that, we finished our search through some not so great, very strange, but interesting fast foods. Did you disagree? Maybe you thought some of these sounded really tasty. If you have your own thoughts on these foods or suggestions for other videos, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. It's always great to hear from you. And as always, thanks for watching, and hopefully I might see you next time.
This is just solar power. To ban controversial fast food commercials? Oh, I think I know what's going to be on this list. Isn't it that one Pepsi commercial? I'm sorry if I seem naive or ignorant. I don't know why that commercial is so controversial. I hope...
The Diamond Store.
Like, I don't know why it's so controversial.
I can make me a business with Squarespace. I sell classes, books, sessions. Because if I can make an own, I can make the next wellness empire.
Howdy. Let's talk junk food. It's the tasty, fiberless, calorific, tooth-rotting garbage that can be fine in moderation. But sometimes the corporations behind these foods or drinks have gone way too far for some people. And they've created ads that might have caused controversy or even been banned from airing completely.
Yep, there it is. It is the Pepsi ad. I thought that would be on there. You can't mention controversial fast food, soda ads, any of those without mentioning the Pepsi ad with the cops. Why did everybody dislike that? I hope someone explains me, because I'm blinded.
It's not culture complaining, it's a group of people. We cool? Cool. Now give me an outlook. There's honestly no person I think would be better suited to discuss commercials with than a certain commercial-loving critic. Ah, hey, nostalgia critic. What a nice surprise.
Nice to see you again, Strider. I'm ready.
Ready? Ready for what? Hey, how'd you do that?
On to the commercial countdown.
Number 10. The passed away dad advert. Oh boy, just wow, UK. I'm not going to immediately reveal what this commercial is advertising. Just do me a favor and try and guess what it's advertising. So we can see this young boy's dad has probably passed away, and he's asking his mom what his dad was like.
Mom,
Damn.
what was that like?
So I gotta say, the start
That's
of this ad
dark.
is well-timed, gentle, and thoughtfully put together. It seems to be giving respect to the now passed-away person.
But I still can't figure out what it's actually advertising.
Well, that's because for the first 80 seconds of the commercial, they don't actually tell us. It's not until the final
Oh my
10
God.
seconds of the commercial that it's finally revealed. The widow mother and her son are going to McDonald's.
Wait, what?
80 seconds. I hate ads like this so much. That literally, they take like 80% of this time doing this stupid BS skit, and then it's like, oh, final 10 seconds. Here's our ad, here's what we're selling. Bye, losers.
Morning and moving on from a tremendous loss, I think of clogging my arteries with the remains of something that barely resembles fish. Who could possibly think this was a good idea?
I know, right? Using death as a drama tool. fish burger. It just feels kind of creepy. Needless to say, the ad drew immediate criticism. The British were not pleased, particularly from real people who'd suffered actual family losses at a young age.
I could actually see, definitely, like, if I lost my dad, I'd almost be pissed at this too.
Probably my favorite comment was right here on YouTube. The commenter says, what they didn't tell us is that the dad died from eating too much McDonald's.
Oh my god, you
Are we sure the copious fillet of fish didn't kill him? It was his favorite burger. It kind of backfires the whole ad campaign in McDonald's face, because at over 400 calories and 18 grams of fat, Fillet-O-Fish gives real fish a bad name. Fish is actually very healthy. Sorry, buddy. You're still a favorite on mine. And for number 9... Pot noodles, the slag of all...
Pot noodles?
I gotta admit, this band commercial may have got some people annoyed.
Sounds like stuff where you go,
I can certainly understand why it might not be seen as appropriate for all ages.
Just saying.
Maybe I'm just a big fan of British humor, but this is legitimately funny to me. So basically, a guy is getting tired of his simple sandwich ways and decides to get dirty.
I need something filthy, you know, like a kebab. Harder.
He goes out into the red light district and is slapped in the face for his naughty request. For you see, it turns out he wants the unmentionable. He wants a pot noodle prostitute.
What the hell? This is so bad!
Okay.
I can't imagine. Hold on. I cannot imagine. Oh no. Oh, my reputation. Dude, how do you cleanse your reputation from that? That is like, bro. Can you imagine, like, being the son or daughter of those poor actors and actresses, and it's like, oh, your mom looked like she was getting banged by this one dude that wanted a pot noodle. Funny. like what? This is just wrong.
Where's the harm in that? But some people weren't too happy with this ad, and over 300 people complained. So very quickly, the ad was outright banned.
Well, with a slogan like the slag of all snacks, what were they expecting?
Who knows? Despite this ad being banned, though, this wasn't the last of the pot noodle naughty ways. They also had an ad of the pot noodle hero getting the pot noodle horn in his pants, in a very unique position. Basically,
the hell?
This campaign likened the design for the snack.
This is so awful.
But within a few minutes of him having some pot noodles, he's right back to normal.
Oh, mate, we all get the pot noodle horn sometimes.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, maybe you should see a doctor about that. Anyway, this ad ended up provoking a further 622 complaints. Some viewers were concerned this ad was lewd, sexually suggestive, and indecent. And again, it made me laugh, but I can definitely see where people are coming from there.
These sort of commercials may have been taboo in the UK, but here in the US, some fast food companies get away with a lot more. For example, Carl's Jr. has made an infamous legacy of lewd commercials. Speaking of which...
Oh my god. I remember once watching this ad where it was Hardee's sexualizing a burger. Homie, that's like what?
Number 8. The Carl's Jr. bought a burger. Yeah,
I thought about
Jr. isn't exactly known for their empowering depictions of women.
Carl's Jr. I thought I was saying Carl's, because Carl's is a, what's it called? Carl's is a small restaurant in Bloomington, Illinois. It's actually a really good restaurant. I recommend you go see it. If you ever go by or stop by the Bloomington area, go to Carl's. I have not gotten a stomach ache from there. The fries are fine. They're not the best fries, but their chicken's really good. My only complaint about the store is that they have ketchup packets instead of just normal ketchup. That's the only thing. I also have to share this complaint with some McDonald's, some McDonald's stores, and also some Dairy Queen. Stop using packets. Packets are the stupidest inventions I've ever seen. Well, the only thing that could do good is if you're wanting a compact way of transporting ketchup. But even then, like, bro, it's actually bad because it makes more waste. that fish can choke on if they get access to it. Like, it's just not fun.
In fact, they ran a long ad campaign of scantily clad women eating burgers, or making burgers, or finding ingredients to get burgers. Pretty much just jumble Playboy model and burger in a sentence, and you'll come up with a Carl's Jr. ad. But their most complained about bikini ad was when they showed bikini-clad ladies playing volleyball on former President Dunderhead's border wall.
The border wall? The border wall.
What in particular did critics not like about this one? Well, shockingly, some people thought the ad depicted sexism.
This ad sexist? Nah, whatever give you that idea?
When Tex meets Max, it's a win-win. The Tex-Mex Bacon Thick Burger.
I feel bad for all the parents that had this come on in their TV with their kids. They're like, well, Timmy, here, tonight I'll explain everything.
This particular commercial depicts two attractive supermodels biting into one of Carl Jr.'s massively oversized border burgers.
That is such a big burger. Mick anal rupture.
Look like they haven't touched a burger in years, yet alone polishing off an entire one of these 1,446 calorie, 112 gram fat burgers before a big volleyball game. It's nothing against these attractive people, but as a thin person myself,
remember, a can of Pepsi, 12 ounces of Pepsi has 150 calories. That's 1,400. Holy hell. How to rupture your damn arteries in one hit.
You know, the thing they sell.
Wait, these guys sell burgers?
Apparently they do. Nowadays, this campaign from the 2000s is more affectionately known as the Slut Burger campaign.
Slut burgers? That is demeaning.
It turns out a lot of viewers didn't find the ads that attractive anyway. In a 2015 poll, 51% of viewers found the ads annoying and irritating. Though probably my favorite of the ads was in 2017, where we saw Carl Sr. booting Carl Jr. out of the office. And Jr.'s office definitely had a distinct running theme to it. The commercial coincided with a new CEO. So after years of controversy, the burger joint finally decided to focus on burgers. Focusing on burgers in your burger joint? That's intelligent marketing there. Number 7. Doritos ultrasound ad. Hey, neat. This ad was made by a fellow Aussie from my home country, Australia. And a whole lot of people saw this. In fact, the ad aired during the Super Bowl and left a lot of people divided. Basically, the ad depicts a pregnant woman having an ultrasound. And the husband is baiting the unborn fetus with a Doritos chip. And then...
That is so weird.
What? To say this woman had a birth that was somewhat premature.
I like how they obviously ad-libbed the line any day now in post-edit.
Any day now.
Because clearly, that makes it so much less creepy when the fetus literally jumps out of the mother's stomach.
Oh yeah, it's lucky they added that line in, because if they hadn't, that commercial would have been really weird.
Really?
And the little guy did it all in front of the Super Bowl to retrieve a Doritos chip. And honestly, I get both.
That's how you know your kid's gonna be a COD gamer. Mom, get out of my room! I have a 0.69 KD. I'm trying to practice. Mom, don't touch that. That's my piss bottle.
I mean, normally I take 5 to 6 takes to get my. I take 5 to 6 takes to get my lines out right. 9 this time. That was impressive. What's fun about this ad is that since so many people tuned into the Super Bowl, we got an absolute truckload of reactions to it. In fact, there were more than 150,000 tweets about it. And that was just in the first quarter alone. Some people called it hilarious, while others called it chilling and disturbing. Some people even vowed to never eat Doritos again. Even Entertainment Tonight aired the commercial and gave their commentary on the backlash.
In minutes, there were hundreds of tweets saying, never eating Doritos again.
Personally, I felt very similar to the Sklar brothers, who simply felt it wasn't a very appetizing commercial. For me personally, seeing premature birth through an ultrasound simply doesn't get me hungering for corn chips.
PepsiCo liked the commercial a lot, though. In fact, they splashed out an extra $5 million to air it again during Sunday's game.
Huh, really? I guess divisive or not, PepsiCo's not arguing with 150,000 tweets on Twitter, or
or 60 million views on YouTube. Ah well, at least it was good exposure for the small-time actors and the Australian filmmaker behind it. And lots of people liked the ad, even Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. But probably my favourite response was from working mum Solid O'Brien. She said,
I would have had 20 bags of Doritos if I thought it would have fed my twins along.
Enjoy 2 pancakes, 2 eggs your way, and 2 pieces of bacon for only $5.
Oh god, I'm getting an IHOP. Oh my god.
Enjoy this deal for a limited time.
Oh, this is bad.
Download the app and earn free food with every order.
I don't... This is taking a long time.
Accepted at 99% of places in the U.S.
and for number 6, the KFC Zinger ad. This KFC ad ended up banned after over 340 complaints were issued to the Advertising Standards Authority in England, aka the ASA. The ad depicts some ladies in an emergency call centre singing with their mouths full of food. Some British viewers, ever the polite and classy culture, thought this taught bad manners to children. Even the voiceover artist seemed to be munching in the ad. Being KFC, the ad was backed by a multi-million-dollar media budget. And needless to say, they weren't too happy with the backlash. A spokeswoman for KFC came out to say, "It is not KFC's aim to offend or upset the viewing public with our new advertisement, and we apologize if we have done so. The advert in question is intended to be humorous, and has been approved by the Broadcast Advertising Clearance Center."
Apparently, though, this wasn't KFC's first controversial ad. The ASA also banned a commercial for the KFC mini chicken fillet.
They did? Why'd they ban
Mini?
Because, shockingly, the TV's burger was much smaller than the actual product. But who was actually surprised by that? Of course it's misleading. It's a fast food ad.
Yeah, if we're going to call out misleading, I think the whole idea that fast food is legitimately tasty could be called into question too. But it is nice that UK television tries its best not to swindle or mislead viewers. They clearly take viewers' concerns very seriously, and I can respect that. Number 5. Starbucks Race Together. Oh boy, this one is a doozy. In 2015, the Starbucks CEO started a marketing campaign.
I have a feeling this is gonna be like woke advertisement.
To write "Race Together" on their customers' cup. Why? To, of course, help baristas start a conversation with their customer about racial tension while you're trying to enjoy your latte. What could possibly go wrong?
And if a customer asks you what this is, try and engage in the discussion that we have problems in this country with regard to race and racial inequality.
But crazily enough, not everyone was particularly cheery about a white billionaire preaching about racial relations to them. I think Rain of April summed up the response from the general public in her Twitter really well, at least from a fair few people anyway. If I may quote her, "Not sure what Starbucks was thinking. I don't have time to explain 400 years of oppression to you and still make my train." End quote. Even one of my favourite comedians, John Oliver, did a segment discussing this campaign.
I think it's pretty clear no one has said no to this guy in 25 years.
And as news articles have pointed out, this campaign did indeed start discussions on racial inequality, but specifically on the fact that Starbucks executive leaders are mostly made up of white men. What a shocker! People also noticed that the campaign only included pictures of white hands, and mostly white puppies. So this campaign indeed started a discussion on racial inequality, but probably not in the way the CEO was expecting.
But hang on, where's the actual commercial?
Oh, don't worry, critic. I looked up the commercial and I have it right here. Here it is.
Seriously?
Strider, what the hell are we looking at?
Well, this is labeled the Starbucks Race Together commercial. It appears to be a young man named Kevin dancing in what he calls the Starbucks dance.
Oh, guys, it's
I know, look at him go. I wish I could dance like that. Number 4. Quiznos Spud Monkeys.
What the hell is this?
Cheapest. Do I even need to explain why this campaign was controversial? Hearing them screech and belch out their songs for more than 4 seconds. Just that alone is enough to make me never want to touch a sub again.
This is like, this is something someone would see on like an acid trip, like the biggest, fattest. I'm talking like you'd take enough acid to like probably kill 3 elephants. That's how much acid you probably have to be on.
guy in the Quiznos ad firm received this clip and
What the hell?
decided it was perfect for their new campaign.
Oh, well, clearly that was just brilliant thinking right there. As you can probably picture, viewer responses were mixed, ranging from calling them drug-addled gerbils to hell lemurs to Mr. Potato Rats. And in my opinion, all these responses are simply too kind to these gerbil-like Photoshop horribly deformed disasters. Many of those unlucky enough to witness these commercials were repulsed. They worried these rat-like creatures suggested an unsanitary sandwich prep environment. And frankly, I don't want to expose you to another second of these rancid rat people, so let's move on. And at number 3, Burger King, the Whopper Virgins campaign. Oh dear, with a title like that, I've got my work cut out for me.
Bring it on. I'm listening.
Well, in 2008, Burger King traveled to very remote, far-flung areas of the world, and they asked residents to sample their Whopper and a Big Mac and declare a winner. Burger King was apparently trying to find...
Yes, the Virgin Islands.
Virgins, as they call it. These are the Whopper Virgins.
Oh, never mind.
This commercial stirred controversy right from the get-go. Some people called the ad's use of poor villagers offensive, because what Burger King didn't mention so clearly was that some of these areas suffered from poverty and severe food shortages, like absolute poverty, where you can't afford food of any kind. Adweek commented that they thought the ad was emblematic of American ignorance, and one nutrition institute called it outrageous. She added that the money used to make the documentary would have been better spent trying to end hunger, not create it. And to be fair, doing that probably would have been better for their marketing campaign anyway. Just donate a lot of money to one of these remote countries and do a social media campaign on the cheap for it. I think if Burger King had at least acknowledged some of the extreme poverty and hunger in some of these remote villages, people would have been a little bit more forgiving of this campaign.
A hamburger. Have you ever eaten a hamburger? No.
And for the second banned or controversial commercial, Arby's Vegetarian Helpline.
Pick up the phone now and call the Arby's Vegetarian Support Hotline at 1-855-MEAT-HELP.
Well, I'm not a vegetarian myself. I can see why some people would find these ads a little rude.
Wait.
You see...
What did you say?
Vegetarian Support Hotline at 1-855-MEAT-HELP.
Well, I'm not a vegetarian myself. I can see why some people would find these ads a little rude.
Is that a reference to the freaking suicide hotline? Because if it is, that's too far.
They offered the helpline 1-855-MEAT-HELP to help vegetarians, because they might be struggling seeing Arby's new meaty...
Not only does this like probably take it, I'd see the both vegetarians and suicidal people, like people, those type of people getting offended.
Come on, this bacon is the best they could do to tempt vegetarians? Seeing those sizzling bits of sugary, fat-soaked bacon makes me feel less like eating meat. At least offer them some veggies and skinless low-fat chicken with the meal. Or maybe some well-cooked salmon, not just bacon. Or how about some wallaby or cat?
Huh?
Vegetarians. They offered the helpline 1-855-MEAT-HELP to...
With the Kroger app, no matter where you order free pickup, you get the same great deals as you get in our stores. So start your cart today. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Adam, looky what I got.
Is that the new iPhone 14 Pro?
Why are they advertising me Verizon? I can't even get Verizon.
iPhone 14 Pro on now. You should get one. Wow, you can hustle.
Get a new iPhone 14 Pro on us, and get it with one unlimited for iPhone, only on Verizon.
I can like not get anything.
Because they might be struggling seeing Arby's new meaty meals, such as the bacon rashers. The helpline told them to take a deep breath and have a salad.
feeling tempted by brown sugar bacon and you can't stop thinking about that sweet meat, press 1.
Oh, come on. This bacon is the best they could do to tempt vegetarians? Seeing those sizzling bits of sugary, fat-soaked bacon makes me feel less like eating meat. At least offer them some veggies and skinless low-fat chicken with the meal, or maybe some well-cooked salmon, not just bacon. Or how about some wallaby or kangaroo? Here in Australia, we have to cull our wallabies anyway to stop them from overpopulating and starving to death. Isn't it the greater moral injustice to waste their meat? Anyway, sorry, I went off topic, but with all the options Arby's had, they went with bacon?
Do you struggle with urges to find and devour this meat?
Anyway, a whole lot of these
That's what she said.
across America were really angered by this ad. And I mean really mad. In the Twitter ad by Arby's themselves, I could find almost nothing but infuriated replies. Many of them filled with foul language, and some of them discussing torture. Ugh. I even had to block one picture for graphic content. Jeepers, guys. Was there really no one on Twitter that just felt like, hey, this looks tasty? I mean, it doesn't to me personally, but I hear others like bacon. Oh, wait. I think this person found the ad funny? Yeah, I think so. On the plus side, at least the Arby's ad managed to find some nice comments. Let's look at those.
I've been a vegetarian.
But apparently, despite all this, Arby's still wasn't done yet, as well as giving a tongue-in-cheek letter in response to the controversy. They then proceeded to offer the vegetarian-friendly burger, and buyers were given 2 buns. Of course, with all the meat replacements nowadays, this is less funny than it was at the time. It's worth reiterating, though, there were some people that laughed about the campaign. It wasn't just everyone responding aggressively.
Arby's, we have the meat.
And the #1 banned or controversial commercial.
Yep, I think I knew what it was.
Starring Kendall Jenner. Because apparently,
Oh,
when we
here it is.
an end to massively nuanced and serious social issues going on for over a century, we think of Pepsi.
Yes, truly. This ad demonstrates that if we want to bring peace and prosperity to our people, to bring an end to suffering and violence, all we need is a can of Pepsi.
Wait, you really think so?
Pepsi?
Yeah, of course not. That's just stupid.
Yeah, it is. It's considered one of the most transparently manipulative soft drink ads ever. And when that includes Coca-Cola, that's really saying something. They attempt to shamelessly capitalize on serious racial tensions that have built up in America for more years than any of us.
Okay, now I see why it's bad.
It's a great example of what's known in psychological manipulation.
Because here's my explanation. I knew it was bad, I just didn't remember at the time. When was this ad? When did this ad come out?
Coca-Cola. When we think of bringing an end to mass... And the #1...
When did this ad come out?
...controversial commercial is Pepsi, starring...
2017. I was... Well, 22. I was 12 years old, which 12-year-old me, I was not fully aware of modern civil rights issues.
Example of what's known in psychological manipulation techniques as heuristics.
Heuristics? What's that?
Well, for example, Coca-Cola has been using heuristics for decades. In a typical ad, Coca-Cola will have a lively group of happy, attractive people and lots of joyful friendships. Maybe it's a party. And of course, at the center of this party is Coca-Cola. By Coke repeatedly associating its product with happy times, this can slowly condition viewers to associate Coca-Cola with happy times.
It's horrible. But it does remind me, wasn't there a big Coke slogan called Open Happiness? That's not exactly subtle.
Nope, it's not subtle, but at the same time, viewers may find themselves more inclined to pick up a pack of Coca-Cola at the next party they go to. But I could do a whole video on how Coca-Cola
Coke is fine to me. I don't really drink a whole lot of Coca-Cola.
Even when we're all in isolation during a worldwide pandemic. But anyway, in this case, Pepsi is attempting to associate themselves with the miraculous act of breaking racial tensions. Because what ultimately brings peace to this ad's racial standoff is a can of Pepsi. Wowzers, that is dumb.
I had another big problem with this commercial. It's just boring. It goes on for like 2.5 minutes. The ad
Seriously?
spent so long trying to convince us that Pepsi is the ultimate key to bringing peace.
Oh, I know. It just keeps going. One of the top comments is that this 2.5-minute ad feels like 2.5 hours. Given this ad's timing, and it came out around the Black Lives Matter rallies, both police and those in the front lines of the conflict were revolted by this ad. It's Pepsi capitalizing upon modern issues to sell sugary tooth rot. In fact, the backlash was so intense that Pepsi removed the ad within 24 hours.
SNL did a great sketch on this ad. The director apparently didn't realize the commercial he made was very offensive to some people. That is, until he asked his wife.
And several other people, including his African-American neighbor. Basically, everyone but him knew this was a terrible idea. I'll link the sketch in the description if you're curious.
So the whole thing is sort of an homage to the Black Lives Matter movement. Don't even touch it. It'd be insane to touch it.
Few commercials have ever stirred as much controversy as this one. It's ended up being what is perhaps Pepsi's biggest blunder of all time. You know, personally, I appreciate that there's a public response at all to some of these ads. While there is a smaller group of people that will go completely overboard and nitpick, I also appreciate that we're in an age where people can be held accountable. That small group shouldn't harass and go overboard, but when something's wrong, we should be able to say so. But anyway, critic, it was great to see you again. Thanks for your time today.
Hey, no problem, Strider. I'm heading back to Channel Awesome, so until we meet again.
Until we meet again. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Oh my gosh. YouTube's discussing terminated channels. Let's see. I don't know about Maximilian Musk. I think he was terminated, but I think he got unterminated. I don't know. Daddy05. It's Owen. Let's see more. No, not Futuristic Hub. I don't think he was terminated. Let's see. I don't know. Pollution Entertainment. That's just gotten terminated. Oh, Mr. Anime, I think, has also gotten terminated. I don't know. Let's be honest. A YouTube termination is a rare thing to happen. In my opinion, I think what's called, people find what's it called? It is more common to see a small child in Minecraft dig up 1,000 ancient debris than to find even one termination to happen on YouTube. Like if you set a timer, I think I'm saying it's mainstream. Like big channels like Rice Gum and all those channels that get terminated are just the cleanest terminations ever. One of my most hated terminated channels is definitely Daddy05 due to the abuse and child abuse allegations. Actually, no, I'm not. I shouldn't have said that. They're not allegations. They are actions. They literally abused their kids. They deserved their termination, and they deserved all their fans being removed. Anyway, on the YouTube's disgusting terminated channels. I love discussing things like this.
Finish their bachelor's in about 28 months. A university where I can get my degree faster. I choose WGU.
I'm a coastal lodge. I'm looking for someone who enjoys the soothing sounds of the ocean. I might have a rocky exterior, but I've got soft pillows.
You know, YouTube has the ability to be a place of creativity and ambition like no other. But let's be fair, some people take the absolute piss, and they often get taken out by the YouTube gods. In this video, I'm going to cover some of the most unique reasons YouTube channels have been terminated, and trust me, some of them are bonkers. Also,
yeah, I'll take your word on that.
Follow me on all of my socials if you enjoy my videos. Aside from that, let's get into things. So let's start off with one that you guys all might know. This is Shani for Christ. And if you don't know her, you're in for a real lesson today because a lot of these channels are incredibly niche. It was June of 2020.
Feel like I might have heard the name.
Was terminated after a long slew of being abusive to her family. The first major incident that led to her eventual online demise came in 2019 after she was convicted of assaulting her former partner. the name of Jason Egroff, better known as Rev. She allegedly slapped him across the face before attacking him with a whip. Don't feel too bad for him,
Dude.
because 2 years later, while Shani was live streaming, he threatened to beat her child as they were all driving in the car together. Wow. To make matters worse, based upon the article I read on the situation, it's to my belief that her son was aged about 12 to 13 and was autistic.
Oh no, I can personally say from having autism, you want to be very careful with them, because with the wrong move, you can mentally scar a child with autism extremely easily. I am somewhat scarred by abuse from a camp. I'm not making this up. I was genuinely abused by these people in a camp, and I've told this story every few episodes. It's probably once every 250 episodes maybe I stream. I went to a camp. My mom sent me. My mom's not the villain in the story. She's good, right? Because these guys reached out to our family, and because I could somewhat talk. Well, I didn't talk until I was 4 years old, but because I could talk, they sent me to this place to be like a role model to these kids. And I think I don't know if I made the decision, but I thought my parents thought it was good. And if I was wanting to go now, if I went to a camp and that, I would say that I would love it too, because I get to meet people who are just like me. Anyway, when I got there, everything, and I remember speaking and getting punished, timed out every time. I remember when I went under a table and I went like boop boop boop, like I did this. I let's say like this is my table, right? I hid under it and I did this, and I was pretending to be a submarine, and I got punished for that. I remember when I talked and these stupid bastardly old women put me in timeout every time I talked, and I don't know what I did, but I can tell you right now, it was not deserving of what happened. They punished me every day, every hour. It was grueling. Even when I went to Noodles like Noodles and Company, all the other kids got sodas, and I got just water. And you know how much I hate water. I even got in trouble for plugging holes of a fountain at a water park. That you know, like one of those there's these little domes, and you put your hole, you plug the hole, right, and the water goes shooting up. I did that, and I got in trouble because of that. No, the lifeguards didn't tell me. No other parents. It was them. And I hope that those women get jail time. I hope they have the most miserable rest of their lives as they can. I honestly do. They do not deserve to have free rights for abusing me and doing what they've done. They're lucky. I could have been mentally scarred. I somewhat am. Although, I would say from 1 to 10 of mentally scarred, it's probably a 4 or 5. Maybe at most probably like a 6. But if you're watching this, and you know who you are, don't ever hurt me or anyone again. I mean it. I want to go back. I've wanted to go back there, but they do not let people out of their own district. I wanted to go return so I could expose them for who they are. They're just parasitic leeches. Awful people of humanity that do not deserve to walk the streets. And I'm serious about this. Stupid whore bastards. Most awful people I've ever met. Well, I don't care if it goes too far. But you know what the best thing I liked about the camp teachers that this is not if you know if you're from one of the camps that I go to, and it was the one by the Lake Bloomington. If you're watching this, you know that you're not in the spotlight. I'm talking about the ones I went into in Bloomington. Well, my favorite parts about them is that they're not going to be around a whole lot longer now. They should be, I don't know, dying of old age. Don't feel bad for them. They're abusers. Ugh. Stupid skanks. I hate abusers.
This was too much for YouTube, who declared that these incidents breached their terms of service, and Shani for Christ was deleted. Before being reinstated, and then once again swiftly deleted. She's since tried to come back on multiple occasions, but each time the door has been slammed in her face. And it appears as though Shani for Christ's YouTube career is over, gaining about 3,000 subscribers by the time of deletion, but being much more infamous than her sub count led on. So just to try and introduce you to the weirdness that you have to be putting up on YouTube in order for your account to be deleted, the next tale is of Shugo Charaboy, otherwise known as Tyler Jaffets. His channel will be erased from YouTube servers in August 2020 after reportedly using GoAnimate to make videos that promote child abuse, bullying, and even fetishes.
Ew.
Pause. Can I ask, how did someone with only 1,800 subscribers at the time of his channel's deletion have this Wikitubia page with the works of Shakespeare about his controversies, history, and rivalries?
Damn.
And I can't get one. If there's one thing this video is going to do, it's going to get me a Wikitubia page. I demand one right now. I deserve it. I fucking need it. Anyway, rant aside. Having a look at the re-upload of this guy's videos, I can understand why he was terminated. You need to understand that he was making GoAnimate videos about like Swipe the Fox, and there was frequent cursing and implied underage girls wearing skimpy clothing. The deal is that these videos would have very likely had a very large audience of children, and this content simply isn't appropriate for them. But something I found interesting during the research of this video is that there's actually a GoAnimate wiki which has described Tyler Jaffets, or Shugo Charaboy, as an abuser, stating, "He was seen by many involved as a horrible person with belly and man-child fetishes." So yeah, he's probably a nonce. Pause and read it if you care to. And don't think that this will be the last time we discuss GoAnimate in this video. This is only the tip of the iceberg. We have to go much deeper for the rest.
Uh-oh.
Ray Magliozzi here. eBay Motors has a...
So the next one is more of a group of channels that were all deleted around the same time, and for good reason.
Oh.
They are incredibly evil.
In my opinion, the worst termination I have ever seen on YouTube is what's it called? There's 4. It's Intrusive, Pro Pepper, Xbox Editions, and there's this 4th one I do not know. Those are the 4 worst terminations ever by YouTube. And it pisses me off to this day, because there are channels that literally abuse puppies and children and get away with it, but these guys were just took them out for bullying. And if I have to show a side, I maybe could get why it's bullying. But here's the thing. Those kids, like it's called, like, there was one clip where what's it called, Intrusive was trolling, and this kid was genuinely scared as hell, and Intrusive stopped. Like, he knew what was too far. He stopped and said sorry. And it's mostly harmless. I mean, yeah, it sucks to have someone else, like, a Minecraft world grief. I'll say that from having been griefed before. But technically, it is harmless.
The worst of the worst. It's almost hard to fathom how much of a villain you have to be to think that this would be an acceptable way of behaving. It's the pet rescue genre. So if you haven't heard of the pet rescue...
Hey, guys, I have a gift. For all the pet rescue videos here, I'm gonna show you my concealed carry, okay? You can have those, okay? I don't need them anymore. Seriously, the pet rescue genre sucks. Whoever runs it sucks. Whoever supports them suck. Unless you actually support like a legitimate rescue, then like Just don't talk to me. I literally just talked about these channels. They literally abuse puppies and animals, pretend to save them, and then post it. And it doesn't make sense, because these guys apparently would come across a puppy every day. You know what? Yeah. I can tell you with sufficient evidence, I live in the countries of Illinois, where there are literally stray cats and dogs. You know how many times we've had a stray cat come on our property over probably like 10 years? I want to say no more than 5 to 10. There's usually at least one. Usually there's at least one stray cat every, I want to say, 2 years. So if you're literally listening to what I'm saying, you should resonate that animals in rescue or animals out in the wild, like dogs and cats, are few and far between, even in Illinois. And the cats that we do come across are incredibly feral and hostile. And sadly, they have to be exterminated on sight. Now, I know me saying this sounds awful, okay? Here's my reasoning. What is a feral cat? A feral cat is a cat, that has lost its sense of ownership, and it's just lost its sanity, and it will openly attack not just people, but other domestic cats. So if you really think about it, one cat dies if you live in the country and you have a stray cat and domestic cats, one cat is going to die. It's either our cats get infected with rabies and we have to shoot them before they go feral, or we have to exterminate the cat first. And these cats are mean. They will kill your domestic cats. And you cannot tame them. That's why they're called feral. Anyway, yeah, going on. It sucks to have to see the cats get shot.
Some people care more for attention, YouTube success, and money than they do for defenseless animals. While on the surface,
and then these animals aren't feral. We've never seen a cat come. Actually, you know what? Our family has performed one animal rescue, right? Or maybe two. One, our neighbor's dog wandered into our yard, and we captured her, or detained the dog peacefully, and we returned it to our neighbor. Another is when we had a cat that surprisingly was not feral. When we see a cat come into our yard, we usually just shoot into the direction that it's at to scare it away. But this cat was friendly. We fed it chicken. It was not feral. It's been medically sterilized, and we rescued it and brought it to a home. That is the only time in my 17 years of living at this property I've ever seen an animal rescue at our property. Wild animal rescues are very few and far between. And I know I'm talking from Illinois. Illinois is kind of sparse when it comes to lost stray animals. Actually, not cats. There's a ton of stray cats in my state. Yeah, just, yeah.
Time again, often an entire genre has more than meets the eye. We saw it with family channels that exploit children for views, it happened with prank channels that faked content, it happened with primitive building channels for the same reason. But the reason that YouTube deleted a ton of pet rescue channels was that they weren't actually saving these pets, they were putting them in danger. You see, the premise of
shame on those people.
There was an injured puppy or kitten, and someone would record themselves.
And Technoblade gets cancer. Come on.
Getting it back to full health. But unless the videos are user submitted, or the channel belongs to a company like the RSPCA, which deals with this kind of situation every day, you cannot make a pet rescue channel, because you just wouldn't run into injured puppies and kittens every day. So what did these guys do? They injured them themselves.
Which is complete.
Fantastic video on the topic, which I'll link in the description.
Yes, Nikki Coley. Good channel. Recommend you check him out. Deserves subs.
Different channels that have been deleted for purposely putting animals such as dogs and cats in danger for the purpose of saving them on camera, making views, gaining subscribers, and earning money. If you've seen my videos before, you might know my stance on it. I think you have to be sick in the head to do this kind of
You have to be mentally effed up, and they can go kiss my ass.
Oddcast is the next creator I want to talk
Oddcast.
about, and straight up, this dude is infamous. His streams are definitely pushing the boundaries.
In all honesty, if I had the money, I would buy an Asian prostitute and bring her to America. I wouldn't teach her English at all. I'd keep her ass in the fucking house. Just
Oh my god.
That's the kind of stuff he says online.
Yep, messed up.
Research, he was already very close to termination before he
What a racist loser.
in November 2021 on account of his toxic and frankly racist fan
God,
base.
I hate people like this. They're just toxic, dude.
Put the final nail in the coffin.
These people deserve, and these people have freedom.
To get rid of all of the trolls, and then, and I quote, after unmodding one of his mods, he failed to realize that the moderator had channel permissions, and the moderator took revenge by changing his channel profile picture to an asshole and New Zealand mosque shooting, getting the channel.
Oh no.
Looking on YouTube, this guy did.
God, this guy literally, man.
2019 New Zealand mosque shooting, getting the channel permanently.
By changing the picture of, oh my god. I'm not laughing about the shooting part. I'm laughing at the fact this guy just got him. This dude is just got toasted. My god.
Looking on YouTube, this guy did seem to have a very big cult following, but I guess that doesn't matter anymore because his channel is now lost to the earth, never to be revived.
Good.
This is an interesting story. If you haven't heard of Dolly Flesh before,
Dolly
it's
Flesh?
about to open up a big can of worms. So, Dolly Flesh was a stop-motion animator on YouTube and has been dubbed the internet's most disturbed animator. So, what did he do that was that disturbed? Well, a lot of his art seems to be depictions of what many people thought were his fantasies. Many of these being very
What the hell? I think I've seen this guy.
actions such as dismemberment, cannibalism,
That is
sexual
creepy as
assault,
hell.
and even animal abuse.
And I've seen some
But
creepy
not
things too.
done in a way that might evoke subtlety, not that they're used in a larger narrative, in a way to glamorize them. And many people think that these are what he wanted to do, these were his fantasies. It was clear to see that he loved to see women in particular being gruesomely tortured or degraded.
Oh
And
my.
speaking of torture, in 2021, Dolly Flesh was arrested after torturing and murdering his 3 pet hamsters.
Wow. Oh, that's why. I remember that. What a piece of shit.
It was brought to the team who decided that this art had to be erased from the
Good.
site. In fairness, I think that all of the channels in this video that got terminated got what was coming to them.
They got it.
For example, our next entry, one of the most controversial figures in this video, Richard Spencer, is the subject of our next
Richard
story.
Spencer.
He had just shy of 3,000 subscribers on YouTube when he was terminated in June 2020. And while you might not know his channel, I'm sure you're aware of his work.
I feel like I've heard about. Isn't this guy racist or homophobic or something?
Might not be that well known. He was one of the figureheads around the 2017 Charlottesville Unite the Right rally. A rally attended by white supremacists.
Oh, yep, he's racist. Yep. Complete trash of humanity.
Now, I think it might be a bit easier to understand why YouTube decided that his voice on the platform needed to be taken away. Just by a simple look of his name up on YouTube, you'll be greeted with such gems as rebranding white nationalism. Richard Spencer wants to make white privilege great. Watch Richard Spencer explain why he's not a Nazi. We memed the alt-right into existence. And my personal favourite, Africans have benefited from white supremacy.
Whoever supports this is probably some losers that justify Hitler's actions.
In many of the biggest far-right movements over the past 5 years, it kind of makes sense that his channel was...
Far right. This is why I hate both political spectrums. They both are annoying. They can screw off. They don't get anything done.
2021, a channel by the name of Fuzzy Wuzzy was terminated from YouTube.
Fuzzy
and had
Wuzzy?
1,600 subscribers at the time. Once I read its story, I knew I had to include it. The channel Fuzzy Wuzzy was deleted for its fetishes. So to get to the bottom of things, we had to go back to 2015 when it was created. 8 days after its inception, the owner of the channel uploaded a video titled Noisy Mess in Undies. And the channel icon, I think you can piece 2 and 2 together, but in case you can't, if I'm not mistaken, this was someone who was shitting their britches on camera and
Okay.
posting the videos.
This guy looks like a weirdo.
I don't know what it is, but I've been talking about kinks and fetishes way more recently on the channel than ever.
This guy looks like Tuv, but
Kill me.
you know,
Got catch of his deeds in
British
2020
version.
after he uploaded a video called Huge Underwear Poop, and the following year, the swift hammer of YouTube.
Yep, that's some fetish BS.
The empire was flushed down the toilet, as it were. Shit.
When you find a charcoal toothpaste
God,
that
there's
perfectly
like,
whitens your smile,
if you're gonna be like that weird, there's just called a saying, keep it in your head, idiot.
This video is something else. So
Isn't Gotcha like completely known for toxicity?
obviously been deleted. Her channel gained a lot of popularity in the early months of 2021.
Oh God, this guy looks like a fetish lord.
For one, she mocked both cancer and Tourette's, saying that they don't exist and that people need to stop.
You know it doesn't
She
exist?
then uploaded videos
Your
of
intelligence.
beating up cancer patients and people with Tourette's in Gacha Life. And of everything she's known for, this is probably the least bad. Trust me, it gets worse from here. It was the same year, 2021, where she started to gain attention online because after YouTuber Jacksepticeye's father passed away, she made videos mocking both the deceased and
Oh boy.
insulting Septiceye and his late father. These videos gained tens of thousands of views, and Shay
That is the...
a few thousand subscribers. This would argue...
Dude, insulting Markiplier, Penguin Z0, Jacksepticeye, DanTDM, and any other like YouTuber literally above 10 subscribers, that's like pissing on an electrical outlet. That is something you don't want to do. Here it comes.
Be topped though, because she then would argue that MAPs, or MAPs, I don't really know the acronym if you pronounce it MAP or not, were a good thing. And if you don't know what an MAP is, it stands for a minor attracted person. And yeah, she went on to support MAP Pride and was shortly terminated afterwards. Of course, she was very likely trolling. I can't think...
Nobody cares about... Yes, Ethan157, nobody cares about Map Pride. Oh my God. Map Pride literally takes away from actual, like, pride that deserves to be soon.
So this next one...
Yeah, because, literally... Like, MAP is just cancer, dude. It's just a cesspool of, like, radiation, biological, and chemical, like, just shit in general. All of its supporters are just really weird fetished idiots. You cannot, like, convince me otherwise. Let's be honest. Literally anybody that supports maps literally deserves to be on the database, if you know what I mean. And it should be locked up and thrown the key away.
I want to see your guys' reaction to this story. This is the story of Natasha Mail, and just like the pet rescue video, she's just the tip of the iceberg of a much larger genre of YouTube video. So Natasha Mail was part of a genre of YouTube videos that has essentially been cold, and that genre is the breastfeeding niche.
Oh my God. Why is this allowed to be on YouTube? It's literally a reportable condition. Sexual or lewd content.
But what about when it comes to not a new mother at all? So the deal is that it's going to be quite difficult to make content surrounding breastfeeding because, first of all, YouTube's guidelines surrounding nudity are quite enforced, but you can only do it for a maximum of 2 years per child, right? Well, apparently wrong. Because despite most sources I've found online, such as the NHS and the American Academy of Pediatrics, stating that 6 months to about 2 years is the right time to stop breastfeeding, over the past 5 or so years, Natasha Mail and roughly 15 other channels have been terminated for breastfeeding older children. Breastfeeding my 9-year-old? Why? Inappropriate? And perhaps more worryingly, breastfeeding until 18 years?
What?
But you shouldn't worry too much because these are both kind of clickbait. She says that she'll stop when it feels natural to stop, and that will probably be around the age of 8. Now, it's 2022. Of course, I'm not going to be the one to tell a woman what she can and can't do with her body. I'd surely get cancelled. Oh, that was a tough legal battle. Personally, 8 is way too old. I would not want to be known as that kid that sucked his mum's tits until year 2. Absolutely not. I'm probably the least able person to answer this question because I was bottle fed as a baby anyway. YouTube has tried to come down on her content, but every few months she keeps coming back with new channels. Oh yeah, and I should also mention that this is a fetish thing for some people.
So she's literally a cockroach. She does not die, or her channel does not die.
Exposed to the world. If you ask me, this is a bit of hullabaloo. So there's been a trend so far in this video that many members of the far right are recipients of YouTube's termination, and Baked Alaska is no different. He is an alt-right personality.
Oh boy.
Supremacist. And since we've already
Yep, I can see by what he looks like, I can tell you he's gonna be that average, like, homophobic, racist, sexist loser.
Shop owners after being asked to wear a mask in October 2020. This might just be the tip of the iceberg though, no pun intended, because only 2 months later, he'd be involved in the January 2021 Capitol attacks, using the online service DLive to live stream the event, because his YouTube channel had been terminated.
Idiot.
16,000 people tuned in to watch his version of the events. If he did have a YouTube channel still, he likely would have streamed it there, so it might be for the best that he didn't. Especially since he was actually out on bail after pepper spraying a bouncer in December 2020. He was apprehended by the FBI a few days later after the Capitol attacks. And yeah, this was after his termination, but nonetheless I think it stands as a good example for the sort of behaviour that he was promoting. He was hit with violating the guidelines of hate speech and hasn't been seen on YouTube ever since. All 35,000 subscribers of his gone down the drain.
Let's go.
Officer Poop 247, let's see what we have here. So he's actually
Officer
best known for
Poop.
being featured in one of Mr. Beast's videos dedicated to bad YouTube intros. But he actually garnered a modest YouTube following before his eventual termination, creating none other than Go Animate videos revolving around the kid's cartoon character and everyone's least favourite bold 5-year-old,
Oh.
Caillou. Now, despite the fact that anyone
People who actually like Caillou are just kind of, like, weird. Yeah, because I would love to, I love a spoiled, toxic, mean, like 6-year-old child. Yeah, I definitely like that character.
Oh yeah, the reason that the next channel was terminated is clear as day. If you've never heard of Eveline, let me tell you a little story. In May 2016, YouTube decided to exterminate her from the platform after it was very clear that her controversial misdeeds would never cease. So, what did she do then? Well, she was a straight-up Nazi. Like, there was no doubt about it.
Oh boy.
Blogs talking about how Hitler did nothing wrong, which was surprisingly common back then. She made a bunch of videos about how to recognize Jews, and perhaps most
Man, at least you don't have to make a video how to recognize a dumb asshole. Man.
So if you're questioning if she had her priorities straight, now you know for sure. It goes without saying that this dangerous way of thinking would be snuffed out by YouTube, but it's kind of scary to think that 60,000 people liked her views and opinions enough to subscribe. So if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and make sure I am beating this Nazi. Just make sure to hit that big red button. But if you're not convinced yet, let's get on with the rest of the video, and hopefully eventually you will be. And if you don't subscribe, the Nazis win.
Oh
I can't
god.
believe I just did that. There's been a recent development in the creator that I'm going to talk about next.
Ghetto ASMR.
The channel was terminated in June 2020.
If I had to watch any ASMR, it's Gun ASMR.
For a long list of reasons that he's since spoken about on Twitch. And that development was that as of last week, he was also banned off TikTok. What might be the reason for his bannings? Well, let me describe it to you like this. When you're a creator that has the same level of success and fame that Ghetto ASMR had, even if you look like a soggy fucking pancake, you have a lot of people of the opposite sex, or maybe even same sex, DM you, slide into your DMs. And there have been a lot of creators over the years that have basically given up everything for a few moments of satisfaction. Ghetto ASMR was one of them. It's a tale as old as time online, and it's repeated itself once again. Apparently he uploaded an unlisted video and sent it to a fan. An unlisted video that featured his genitals.
Oh my god.
Tip of the iceberg though, because the guy has been accused of sexting multiple underage people, and his
Homie's writing the whole ass paragraphs. This guy's getting caught in 4K.
can't find a missus without using his platform to do so, and he was reportedly trying to find his #1 fan.
Oh
Now,
my
many of
god.
the times that he DM'd fans or asked for their news was after his channel's deletion.
Too far.
But nonetheless, it's not like he became a sex pest overnight. He was obviously doing it before his channel got the axe.
Stupid cockroach.
And it was apparently the largest cause of his channel's termination.
If I make a dish, I can make the next culinary empire on Squarespace.
Quarter mile driver late, 20 severe injuries.
Stop traffic in all directions.
Copy.
Stuck here a ways. I can't even see it.
Speaking of classic...
That I've never seen a train PDA. Well, I guess the government's right. Trains don't stop. I've seen a train on full brake on video, and they take, like, forever to stop. Like, you've got to be the stupidest person in the world to actually proceed across a road that has a train going over it. Like, bro.
Stories. I think the Sex Pest and this next one really do go hand in hand as the most popular and the most played out. It's a classic story. Someone wants to be big on YouTube and they want it so bad that they forget about ethics and their judgment is clouded. They go balls to the wall in an attempt to achieve their goals, but eventually they're led astray and they cross the line one too many times, and then they just get shafted by YouTube, never reaching the promised land that they gave up everything for. Vorphy is the next YouTuber who got his channel deleted, and I think his Wikitubia entry on his deletion sums up in good words why he was deplatformed. Vorphy has been streaming a Fortnite fashion show since April 1st and practically brainwashes his viewers into subscribing, liking, using his code, donating money, and even worse, asking for viewers to become members. The actual stream is on a 30-minute loop and remains on forever. He also threatens his viewers to... really want to get into. So if I'm not mistaken things, this guy was basically extorting his child audience and cheating the system in doing so. It seems to me like he wanted power, he wanted fame, and he wanted money, and eventually it became too much, and he was terminated. So this next one, I could have spoken about last time in my video about YouTube's criminal practices, which
Mr. Anime?
after this one, by the way, if you haven't already. But I decided to include it in this video instead. And that was a channel that was terminated in April 2021 called The Bell Life, which featured a pair of brothers, Justin Bell, aged 27 at the time, and Howard Bell, aged 44 at the time, who liked to prank each other. The only thing is that their pranks were ill-conceived and often very stupid, even for YouTube pranking standards where the bar is infamously an inch off the floor. The strange thing to me is that the prank that I think sealed the deal was performed in the latter months of 2016. It was driving a motorcycle through Walmart while scantily clad and wearing a cape. The two brothers were subsequently arrested for their actions.
Oh my
and
God.
faced a felony of wanton endangerment, and the video was eventually removed. But this doesn't explain why it would almost be half a